You're listening to For the Republic, a love letter to Star Wars animation.
Hello there.
Hello there, and welcome to our first installment of our Andor recaps here on the For the Republic podcast feed. I am Andrew, one of your co-hosts, joined today by Don and Conor. We are here to talk about the first 3 episodes of Andor. They really gave us a nice treat, giving us a 3-episode premiere. Watching the episodes, I'm glad that it was like this, but also it's like we've got so much to discuss. You might notice Jake is not with us today. He'll hopefully be back next episode. But it's just going to be the 3 of us. We're going to be rocking and rolling through these episodes. How have you all been before we get going?
Surviving.
Yeah, I've been good, dude. Yeah, it's certainly been an interesting week for like Star Wars discourse in that like refreshingly, and I was talking about this just before we went on air, but like the discourse hasn't been about like, you know, like the worst kind of people talking about how the show sucks. It's generally been a discussion of like the show and its quality. So that's been really nice to see.
Yeah, it's been refreshing. Like I also mentioned though, the only thing that's been a bit upsetting is the algorithm for Andor has been burying it. So that's upsetting that people haven't been able to get their like opinions voiced about the show that much because of the way that YouTube and TikTok algorithms work. But we're here to talk about Andor no matter what. So for me personally, I also cool to see that Don is on video this time because his camera was not working last time. So all 3 of us are here.
Fully functional this time.
Fully functional.
Yeah, no need for Professor
Hu Yang.
No need for Professor Hu Yang this time. He can officially like retire back to like making lightsabers.
Exactly. So I don't know about you guys, but I mean, Don, obviously, I don't think this is the case for you because of time zone differences, but I did stay up for the 3 a.m. release and I watched them all in a row, even though I had work in the afternoon the next day, which I powered through it. But these episodes, to me, were worth it. And the way that they released these 3 at once, I think really did the show a favor because of just how the episodes are structured and how the story all kind of blended together. I feel like if it was just this first episode, just judging by how the episode ended, like to me, that's the one thing I noticed is that the episodes just kind of, they just end and they just kind of go right into the next episode. And I think if it was just the first episode that was released, some people might have just been like, all right, so that's it. But because it was 3 of them and we got this whole story at first, it's going to be, it was good. And I think now we have our expectations of how these episodes are going to be structured going forward.
Yeah. I think it makes a lot of like structure wise, it just makes so much sense to like have these 3 episodes in a block, especially since like, you know, they almost kind of like sort into kind of like a mini movie because you have like the build up for the first 2 episodes. And then you have like this rather explosive confrontation for the 3rd episode, which is weirdly like it kind of rhymes with Mando because that's how the first 3 episodes of that show progressed. You know, you had the 2 episodes building up and then you have like the episode that changes the trajectory of the show pretty much with like a big explosive confrontation.
Yeah, definitely. I know a lot of people like assumed or maybe expected most of the first season to take place on Ferrix. I'm assuming we're still going to go back at points because we still have a couple characters there that are still on Ferrix that I really, really hope that keep showing up because if they're just for these first 3 episodes, I'm going to be upset. And it's not just
more
who you
Brasso.
think.
Yeah,
I was
Brasso is my guy.
I was going to say the same thing. I have a hit tweet now thanks to Brasso.
Yes. We have another viral tweet courtesy of Don. But let's just talk about the way that this first episode starts off because you want to talk about like people have talked about just the way that this show feels different compared to all the other Star Wars shows, not just like the grittiness and the way it's focusing on kind of your Star Wars version of everyday people in the galaxy, which I'm sure we'll talk about more. But just right off the bat, the tone is different, but it doesn't feel like super like gritty for the sake of being gritty, like a lot of like the DCEU did in its earlier days. Like this is, it just immediately you're like, okay, it's still Star Wars, but this is new. We get what everyone's pretty much calling the Star Wars version of the Red Light District. And I just love it, just the way the atmosphere, the shots, the way that like the show looks. Immediately you're like, okay, we're not in the volume anymore. Like we're back in real budget territory here. Speaking of which, Jake shared that thing about how Kenobi's budget, I don't know if it was per episode or just total, was 90 million for the whole show. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. Like I loved Kenobi. Loved it.
Same.
But, like we've done videos upon videos about our thoughts on Obi-Wan, and they were very glowing. But that
for sure. But like what the hell? What gives?
Like She-Hulk, like I'm digging She-Hulk. I don't think that should have a higher budget than Obi-Wan. Like it doesn't need one. So I don't understand it. The way that they're handling the budgets, like I think
that is probably
it. Had double.
COVID probably shot them in the
Kenobi
foot.
did.
That's
probably
that is probably it. Like because Andor did shoot after Kenobi, and that would have been around like the time that they had started adjusting more, I think, to like shoot during COVID.
Do we know when was Book of Boba Fett shot? Was that post-COVID?
It was because like I know Mando season 2 was the last. Yeah, it was the last one that shot pre-COVID.
Yeah,
they had
Mando
literally
season 2 was done
just wrapped.
Before,
they just wrapped it up exactly, and that's what made it kind of like that's. I remember it was like kind of like there wasn't a lot of new stuff, big stuff that was launching. Like most of the stuff for 2020 had just been cancelled, and then Mando season 2 comes in, and we're like, whoa. But like, yeah, to get back to Andor, like that opening sequence is really cool. I have to mention the BBY graphic because like,
that is the kind of thing people are talking about. That
I'm not a fan of the BBY 5. It's 5 BBY.
Really?
For me.
Yeah.
No. In terms of trivia stuff, and just in terms of just.
Honestly, I thought there was going to be a bigger discussion than it was because I just knew there was going to be some people that were like, oh, it's 5 BBY, not BBY 5. But I think this is the first time. I think this is the first time in canon like they've actually said that BBY or ABY.
Yeah.
So like Pablo Hidalgo was like, oh, then is it Battle Before Yavin or is it not? Does it mean something else?
They're running very far away from the BSI ASI designation that they had in the Rise of Skywalker Visual Dictionary. Which is just, it's so funny that they tried to change that and I get the reasons, but like it was so funny that the Star Wars fandom as a whole was just kind of like, nah, man, not feeling it.
Let's not do that. Yeah, let's change it up, but. Again,
it's all arbitrary anyway.
Yeah,
so.
It's
exactly.
It's nerd stuff. It's like the stuff that only like the hardcoreiest of the hardcore really truly give a shit about is what time designation does this take place in? Like, you ask anyone on the street, it's like, okay, are you a BBY or BSI person? They'll be like, what are you asking me? Like,
saying to me,
is that a type of like computer or something? And I'll be like, you. But again, like my honest opinion is I don't care. I saw it and I was like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. Because I obviously I'm like, oh, BBY because I'm a Star Wars nerd. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But I was like, I found it interesting that they did choose to do that because it's always just been location, destination, or whatever it's been. Like when they first did that, I think in Rogue One was the first time they had like those type of things, which I like that they're still keeping that type of style for Andor. Because it's like, okay, so this is still in this, we're following Rogue One. So it still kind of feels like Rogue One in the sense of just the way, like the visual presentation.
It needs to happen more, I think. Like
I like it. I'm like for stuff like Kenobi where it's more connected to the Skywalker saga, I like that it felt like that. Like it still has the like the Skywalker saga type of credits and everything. Whereas this one doesn't. Completely different. It's not even like the concept art that we have in Mando. it's just like black screen. It's still the same. I've noticed it's still the same font, but it's just plain white with a black background. So
yeah,
it still feels like Star Wars, but it's different in a way. Like, again, this is just it's such a refreshing take on Star Wars.
It's very unique.
Very unique. And I am all for it.
When I watched this, because I started rewatching them, well, I only just got to rewatch the first episode today. I
haven't seen it since Tuesday.
Just just to really remember what happened, because 3 a.m. watches, do not recommend.
Yeah. And this is your second Andor discussion show that you've done, because you already did nights this week.
Yes.
So
literally, we recorded yesterday, and by yesterday I mean Friday, September 23rd, or was it Thursday? Wait, Friday or Thursday? I can't remember.
I think it came out yesterday.
Thursday. We recorded Thursday, September 22nd.
This has been the running gag. Is Conor in the Discord server, I think 3 times this week, has gotten the day wrong because he thought it was Thursday like 3 days in a row.
Oh no, that's not even related to all that. That's just time.
That's just time is
like COVID is just subjective. Like this pandemic is just fucked with my perception of time.
Also, speaking of tragedies, I need just a moment of silence. So, peeling back the curtain here for the video people. So over here, I have a shelf where I have my lightsabers and a couple of my Lego sets displayed. Now, when I went to move the shelf out of the way to plug my laptop in, my Obi-Wan saber started falling, and I caught it. I was able to save it in time, because last time that happened, it knocked over one of my sets, and it was just terrible. Well, didn't save it in time. Didn't save it in time. How poetic that Obi-Wan's saber destroys Obi-Wan's lightsaber. Destroys Obi-Wan's starfighter. As George Lucas would say, it's like poetry. It rhymes. But
kind of rhymes with the last.
But no, I started rewatching the episode because A, I forgot most of it, and B, for trivia question purposes.
Yeah. I'll talk about that later. But
there's a lot of Easter eggs in this.
Oh yeah, but I remember. I thought there wasn't enough Easter eggs in this. I thought
there wasn't any Easter eggs.
I thought there wasn't any Easter eggs. You're telling me because is their version? Does Easter eggs? Is that just Darth Vader didn't show up in the first second of the show, so I don't care.
Probably,
what is Easter egg?
There's definitely because Easter egg, I think
here. It's okay,
stretched.
But what about? There's a ship that looks like the Ghost in the shipyard on Ferrix, and there's a couple other ones that people have pointed out too.
There's a what? I didn't realize a ship that looks like the Ghost on Ferrix.
I think
there's also a ship there's also the exact model of Ochi of Bestoon's ship.
So
that's why it looks so familiar to me. I was like, that ship looks so familiar, but I don't know why.
Yeah, because I was watching that whole sequence and I was like, there's something familiar here, because I obviously spotted the Y-Wing, because I know Y-Wings, but I was watching it there's other ships here, I just know it. And then someone posted that it was Ochi of Bestoon's ship, and I was like, oh. I mean, I'm not sure if it's the same one because it's a different color.
Not.
But it's such a cool reference to have it there. Yeah. And they also have the little vulture things that were in Force Awakens.
Oh, in The Force Awakens, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
There's been a lot of...
I think the real strength of just my big picture notes about these first 3 episodes, I really like the slow burn of it all. And we really get to just be with these characters.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
And it's people like Timm and people like Brasso and just everyone else of that working class town. Get to just be with them.
It felt like you were following I think it was Star Wars Explains video said it's you're following the space equivalent of a small mining town in whatever
spot on
city it is, and it works so well because this show has such a good strength with its world building and just establishing Ferrix in just 3 episodes. Okay, this is the community. These are these characters. Here are a couple of the locations. And then even when we get to the 3rd episode, just the way that the town works and how they kind of rally with their townspeople was really cool. And I was a big fan of it. But going back to what's the name of the planet at the beginning? Morlana 1, I believe.
Morlana 1,
Morala 1.
Morala. All right.
Yeah.
Let me look.
So
I wrote this down somewhere.
okay. The way that this shot or this scene in that bar was shot, and then Cassian immediately I recognized the uniforms as the corporate police, that the guys that are just giving him shit that he got service before they did. It's like, we've been here longer. And Cassian's, he's looking for go ahead.
Quick note. It's Morlana 1.
Okay. That's what it says on Wikipedia. I was just like, how do I pronounce this? I was like, is it Morlana or is it I don't know.
I can't wait
It's
to
Star
talk about
Wars,
that scene that we're getting to in the first 5 minutes. I know exactly.
Yeah.
But he asks one of the ladies working there, it's like, do you have someone from Canary working here? It's like, oh yeah, we don't give our real names. And it's like, okay, someone did used to work here, but it's been, I think she said years or months, or she hasn't worked there in a while. So he goes to leave, and he is cornered outside. First of all, the shots of him just walking outside just screamed Blade Runner to me. Someone did a side-by-side of Andor and Blade Runner 2049, and I was like, okay, this is fantastic.
There's such a no-wire feel across the whole sequence. Like that shot where he is walking and they both come up behind him, and it's just like this long shot of him, just like of Diego Luna, just like putting his hands up and just like standing there as the two approach him. You feel the tension there, and there's not even any music to like build things, and it's just the whole sequence is just fantastic, and it rhymes thematically with how we first see Cassian in Rogue One, which is fascinating to me.
Definitely. I just think it's a perfect introduction. Like, even if you haven't seen Rogue One going into this, it's a perfect introduction to who Cassian is as a character.
Yeah.
And it just, again, one of his big things in Rogue One was him saying he's done terrible things in the name of the rebellion. And we see one of those things in this scene. And some people are like, how is he, not naming names, but it's like, how is he a hero? Like, he kills someone in cold blood. It's like, do I need to remind you what his first scene was in Rogue One? Where he literally killed someone on his side for the betterment of the rebellion. To save himself and for his mission. Exactly.
And this scene is like,
are just some douchebag, like,
they're cops.
Borderline security guard cops. Yeah, that are harassing him.
The thing I like the most is that this kicks his whole journey off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's
and just like
a great
I think
scene.
it was someone, I think rewatching it, I was just like, God damn, the acting with that one guy. I think his name was I wrote it down somewhere. I know the first guy was Verlo, but I think it was like Crawl. It started with a K. I can't remember it off the top of my head. But just his acting of just like he fell like we're going together. I was like, this guy's full of shit, but like, God damn it, it's so good.
It's very Janos Slint in Game of Thrones.
This guy's gonna rat Cassian out.
Exactly. No matter how much he pleads, you know he is going to turn on Cassian, and he knows it too. But even like when he just raised the blaster and shot him, I was like, damn, that is cold.
I was like, wow.
It tells you exactly not only where he is, but what kind of character he is, and like the conflict he clearly has, because Cassian clearly has like some stuff to work through, and he's definitely a person with like darkness that he has to wrestle with.
No, this first scene was just such a great way of establishing the show. Real quickly, I want to talk about how like the opening like title card of the show.
Oh, it's so good.
So good. The music, I think it's different in all three episodes, but it was great in every single one of them. And then the build up to the Andor logo, just perfect. I love it. It's
brilliant.
It really is.
You can tell that like Lucasfilm is pretty confident in this show.
Oh, for sure. I love it. It's like, I love the way it like, it's very 2001 with the way like it builds up to like that planet and then it transitions into the rebel symbol. It's just, it's it's both very artistic, and I love the music as well. Like Nicholas Brittle's score, like because we've been
It's phenomenal.
very much spoiled with Star Wars music. Like I think for the last several series, like obviously Ludwig's Mandalorian score is iconic. I personally thought Natalie Holt's Obi-Wan score was very interesting, and we obviously got John Williams' theme. But Nicholas Brittle's score is very much like the show in that it's very unique and next level in terms of what it's bringing to Star Wars. There's a lot of because it feels Star Warsy, but it also has a lot of like new elements. Like there's a lot of synth there. Built in with like stuff like drums and other stuff. Like there's a track that I can't wait to listen back to, like in episode 3 when the ship, the security core ship comes in and they start disembarking, and you've got this mix of synth and drums just like building the tension, and I'm like, this is so good.
It's been talked about to death, but the ending music in the second episode with the heavy drums, kick ass.
So good.
And there was another. There's like, I think it's a recurring leitmotif throughout the second episode, but in particular, like when Luthen arrives on Ferrix in the second episode, I was just like, this like the music was swelling and everything. I'm like, this show is, and he's just looking out like on the rocks. I'm like, this show rules. Like I was just. There was a point in the second episode, like the first episode, I was watching it and I was loving it and I was really getting into the characters. But I'm like, okay, we're moving pretty slowly here. Like we're just establishing like who all these characters are. I think there was a moment like midway through Cassian's first conversation with Marva where I was like, oh no, this show is unreal. And I really, really dug everything in these episodes. But we have the killing of this officer, or both of these officers, and then Cassian ends up back on Ferrix, and we get introduced to B2 Emo, who is
I love the theme.
Our good boy.
I don't know if it's his. I don't know if it's going to be B2's actual theme, but like the introductory music that they played for him when he was just rolling around on Ferrix was just like incredible. I cannot wait to listen back to that all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I love B2 as well. Like, again, we've been spoiled for droids, but I love his design. He feels weirdly,
I love his design,
like,
and he talks.
And he stutters. And we've never had that with a droid that like stutters regularly. Like, you really get the sense that he's an older model. He's been through a lot of stuff.
And the thing I really find interesting that was pointed out to me by a friend of mine who was at the premiere, and he's like, this isn't really a spoiler, but it's really interesting. And now I was like, oh, that's what he was talking about, was the fact that like this kind of, I don't know if it like canonizes it, but it really explicitly shows and tells us that like it takes a lot of processing power for droids to lie.
Oh, yeah.
That's really interesting because that more gets into the whole like overarching thing of droid ethics. Are they worth it? Are they just disposable? All that whole stuff that we could do an entire episode on.
Yeah, the implications of that are fascinating, especially when you like factor in other stuff like L3's battle for droid rights in Solo, because they play that for comedy, but that is also like. There is also some like heart to that, and it's just seeing that with like in relation to B2,
and really just Cassian caring for him, like albeit like begrudgingly, is just I like it. I like it a lot.
I'm a big fan. I wasn't expecting him to talk, but I'm a big fan of it.
It feels so like it doesn't feel like off-putting to me.
They picked the best voice for him too.
Like, who voices him?
It is
Dave Chapman. It's Dave Chapman.
Dave Chapman.
He's done a bunch of puppeteering for Lucasfilm in the past.
Gonna write that down.
I thought it was like it was gonna be like someone like randomly big, just like it's either like someone big and Lucas, like that's Dave again, or like if they get like insert big celebrity here to voice B2 Emo, but like. I love him. I love his design and everything. But I'm terrified for his odds of making it out of this series alive. Because we have not. Last time we fell in love with a droid, it didn't end well.
Especially one in relation to Cassian.
Yeah. Oh, and K2 obviously. But I was just referring to Ned.
Dude, I've completely forgotten about K2. Like the whole thing about like, is K2 gonna show up? Maybe it'll change, but like these first 3 episodes, I was just so engrossed into his current story.
Yeah. Like I love K2SO. He was my favorite in Rogue One. But
bro, B2's a ride or die.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to see him in just put him in Rogue One. Just do a special edition or something.
If we're talking ride or dies, we need to talk about like Bix Brasso.
Yeah, that's a homie. I love that guy.
Brasso,
I love it.
Yeah, but like Bix is like the droid version of me. He's constantly not Bix. B2. I'm getting ahead of myself. B2 is like the droid version of me. He's just constantly on low power mode and just constantly just drained. It's just me.
Just like me.
Yeah, I'm just getting ahead of myself.
The millennial droid.
I got Bix Caleen on the mind again. What can I say, boys? It's been a fun week.
And I can't blame you.
Yeah, but let's talk about Brasso real quick and just like, what would you call this workplace? Like a construction site or like a mining?
I think there's like some sort of title for him for Brasso. I don't know.
Yeah,
scrap yard.
Or scrap yard. Yeah, I got very, very Lethal/Braca vibes from this entire planet.
I was going to say Braca.
We're thinking it was Braca, and I remember like a few people were asking me if it was Braca, and I'm like, no.
I'm like, it says Ferrix. Like,
no, before the show came out.
Before the show came out.
With the trailers, of course.
But I know, I think the Lego sets said that like that was the name of the
planet. Oh, that's right, the Lego leaks. I love Lego leaks.
I hadn't seen the Lego
Those
leaks.
are always the best types of leaks.
Because they have the one Andor set, and I'm like trying to remember like what it is in relation to this episode. I'm gonna look it up right now.
I'm not gonna lie. I think Ferrix, in terms of like how effective the world building is for each Star Wars planet, Ferrix is up there for me.
Okay, so it looks like it's Cyril's ship and the speeder. And it's Luthen, Cassian, and Cyril. Okay, so
that makes sense.
It's a climactic scene in episode 3.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Brasso, and then we can get into Cyril and this fucker. Who I'm sorry, I'm not there yet, guys. I've seen so much stuff, but I'm not there yet. I might like him as a character. But like, I don't know if I'm going to be like, oh, he's my kitty meow meow, like some of my friends are. I'm sorry that you all had to listen to me say that. But
I'm going to just leave now.
You're going to leave now? Okay. Don, we're gonna do this together. But let's talk about Brasso. Like, I just love how Cassian like just gives him specifically. It's like, we went back to your place. We were out drinking. And then Brasso just adds onto it's like, I was offended by
you disrespected my choice of you insulted my choice of beverage as something and something. I was offended by this. I was like the first time I watched that, again, 3 a.m. watch time, I did not pick up on the fact that they were like making up a story. But the second time I was like, oh.
Yeah.
So again,
that whole scene.
Don't watch these episodes at 3 a.m., folks. Or also to Disney Plus, don't release them at 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah, midnight release would be nice.
Still release them 8 a.m. for us folks over here in the UK. But I agree. 3 a.m. is like that's
it's
not fun.
Rough. It is rough.
It's not fun. It is
rough.
I took a 2-hour nap. And I was wide awake, and like I didn't pick.
I was prepping. I was like, I'm staying up ready for this.
But anyway,
Brasso. I like how Brasso at the end was like, cool. You better do some work. And we never see Cassian do any work at this.
I think someone described Cassian in terms of like this whole like in terms of everyone he interacts with. I'm paraphrasing here, as like just the guy who everyone. No, I can't remember, but like it's very specific. Like I know I've seen it before in actual friend groups where it's like he's the guy that kind of like just mooches off of everybody and doesn't really pay them back, but it's like I would still take a bullet for him.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, he's that
feels
guy.
rather accurate.
He's that guy that like the guy you work with that always calls off and gives like this really shitty excuse, and everyone knows he's bullshitting, but they're not actually going to say anything because when he actually does show up, they just like him that much. Like that's Cassian, and like
he's effective too.
Yeah, and we see him like owing like 8 different people money. Who's the big guy? The big guy that he recruits. He's just like, oh, what's up?
I love
it's
that.
Like,
that scene was
I'm
great.
just
Like
supposed to stand
Nurchi.
here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All I had to do was stand here.
Yeah, he's
and I love the way Cassian tries to play mind games as well with the two of them. He's like, since when do you take orders from Nurchi? It's like major burn to Nurchi there, but also I just love that. Like, is it what's his name?
Verth.
Verth. Yeah, like I love his design. Like we need.
No, wait, not Verth. I don't know. It starts with a V. Let me look it up. I wrote it down
I
wrote it down for a trivia question.
Yeah, but like his whole design is fascinating. I really want to know the like species that he is, like, because he's so imposing.
He's Urodel.
Oh, that sounds sick. That does. Yeah, like I love his design and like the way he, like it's just really funny, and it's a nice bit of humor in the episode because these are obviously like these are aiming for kind
Vetch.
of
Wow, I completely butchered that guy's name. Vetch.
Vetch.
Wow,
That's the name. I was going to say Vect, to be fair, which is like someone else. That's the guy.
Also,
from Obi-Wan,
I love
so,
Nurchi. I don't know why. He just seems like a cool dude. Like,
because
when he's not antagonistic, he seems just like a cool guy. He just seems like a really cool guy.
Yeah, because he's trying to be threatening to like Cassian in that scene, but you can tell that he's not really feeling it. Yeah, because like Cassian's he's a cool guy, but like he's got that kind of like vibe Cassian does in those scenes where like, because Cassian is rather self-centered at that point because he has a very specific goal. He just wants to get the hell off Ferrix, and he's not really that bothered about like, you know, owing people money and stuff. So a lot of the stuff he's doing a bit of a Han Solo thing in those scenes where he's trying to like sort of like blow off these people and say, oh no, yeah, I haven't got the money at the moment, it's in play, you know, stuff like that. He's having to bullshit a lot because he just wants to get the hell out of there.
I got him coming.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that Brasso.
Question. Oh, go ahead. And then I was going to
say that I love that Brasso, and that's why Brasso is such a homie, because Brasso backs him up with like no need to be like pressed at all. He backs him up. He adds to his story. He actually makes the story sound more convincing. And then he says like, oh yeah, whatever's going on with you, you need to sort it. So he's like a true friend because he helps Cassian out in a bind, but he also is like honest with him about like about what's going wrong with him. And like also at the end, he helps him out again. Like I love that he got like to make a contribution. Like if that's all we get of Brasso all season, I'll be happy with like how he was included, and the actor as well. I got to shout. Yeah, can't remember the actor's name, and I'm gonna like I'll make sure I tweet about it later.
Right here.
I mean, I know him from Doctor Who. He was like,
I believe is how you pronounce it.
Yeah, like he's a British actor. He was in Doctor Who, The Waters of Mars. That's what I know him from. But like,
awesome.
I mean, most British actors will turn up in Doctor Who at some point. Like Andrew Garfield was in Series 3. Yeah, it's wild. But
wait, what?
Yeah, Andrew Garfield is in the 3rd series of Doctor Who. It's in a story set in New York, funnily enough, with the Daleks, and it was like it's wild to look back on that and think, yeah, the Doctor's like hanging out with Spider-Man.
Was that pre-Amazing Spider-Man?
It was 2000. So that was aired in 2007. That was like 5 years before Andrew Garfield was like even 3 years
that was
before he was
before
even
Social Network. So that was
before he like really pops off, and like that's the same series that Carey Mulligan is in as well. So like there are a lot of up and comers who, and also like another actor as well, the guy from Get Out. I know his name. I can't remember his name. I'm
Daniel
blanking.
Kaluuya.
Daniel Kaluuya. Thank you. Yes. He was in Doctor Who as well. Yeah.
As an actor,
awesome.
at least.
Like,
it is just the stereotype that every British actor has been in either Harry Potter or Doctor Who just true. Like, is it?
I can neither confirm nor deny that rumor.
Yes.
I'll just say that it feels more like an inevitability, really.
Now, here's my question is, why is the majority of Ferrix either British or Scottish? Like, I don't understand, like why is that what they went with?
I feel like the reason for that primarily is because it's filming in Pinewood. Cassian. Because a lot of the show filmed in Pinewood, like around England, when it was first filming. Like I believe they filmed in Buckinghamshire and like Scotland as well. So like that's why you see a lot of Scottish and British actors like filling up the supporting cast here, which like makes a lot of sense. But it's also like, I mean, it's cool for me as well, like to see a lot more British people in Star Wars, and also like that one Scottish guy. Yeah, like that one Scottish guy, like, you know, he deserves a lot of props for getting the first shit in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Dude, when he said that, I think because of
I didn't notice it at first. It just came off naturally to me.
I think it came off so naturally for me too. I think it was like he said it, and the fact that he was Scottish, I was just kind of like, for a split second, I just forgot I was watching the Star Wars story. Like I did when that happened. But I was like, oh wait, wow.
We're so used to hearing like fictional swear words in Star Wars, like Carabast or Dank Ferric.
There was no Dank Ferric here.
Yeah,
I feel like
so it's almost disarming to hear the word shit.
Sneak that into the Andor script, Tony Gilroy would have just been like, nope, we're doing the real.
Oh yeah, no. That's probably what would have happened. Like Pablo or like any of the other story group members were probably just like, yeah, you could put it in this word, and Tony's just like, no.
Let's just
What's the one
shit.
that they were trying to do in Book of Boba Fett? Like they were trying the Star Wars version of that's the pot calling the kettle black. Like every time I hear it, I'm just like, what is this?
If that isn't the Quactor calling the stifling slimy.
I hate it. It just comes off so forced. And every time they say it in Book of Boba Fett, I'm just like, what?
I mean,
like,
it works best. It works best when it's coming out of Tamir Morrison's mouth.
Yeah,
that man can make anything sound cool.
I'm just imagining Tamir like needing like 30 takes just to get that right. Because he's like, what am I saying here? Like,
he's like, how do I, like, Dave, John, are you sure? Like, this is the scene we want. This is like, the line where I'm supposed to say. It's a terrible impression.
I'm not a fan of that one, and I'm glad it didn't show up in here. Yeah. It's just,
but it doesn't roll off the tongue.
So let's switch gears real quick from talking about the Ferrix civilians to talking about Cyril and the whole corporate police that he works for. And we get a glimpse right off the bat that like this is not the Empire. These are people that kind of kiss the Empire's ass.
Yeah, middle management.
Like the bootleg Imperial. Again, I think Cyril was described as Dwight Schrute.
Dude, he's got to stick up his ass
with a gun.
Yeah.
I'm not like immediately the first time like you see this guy, it's like, okay, you can tell. What I do like about his character is like he truly believes that this is like that what he's fighting for means something, or he truly believes in the cause. Now, I did describe this as like he's really buying into like the fascist propaganda, kind of like, and it's just Hitler Youth essentially is what I've described it as. But
there's definitely a vibe there.
There's definitely a vibe of like, oh, he's indoctrinated by all of this stuff, and he truly believes in the Empire, which is why when I don't like him as a character, but like that's the one thing I noticed. And then he notices right away, like when he puts in this report to his superior, and the guy's like, all right, we got to cover this up. Who cares? Just write up this incident report, because it's like, okay, we can't have him. We can't say what it was because they're breaking all these protocols that like they're not supposed to technically do. So we got to make them seem like heroes. And then
because like it's really cool, that whole sequence as well, because like it really kind of shows the like banality of like of evil in a way. Like you see that they're like the corruption is there because his boss is trying to cover it up, but there's a genuine reason there because they don't want the Empire sticking their neck in, and it really kind of like we've not even seen the Empire at all in these first 3 episodes, and yet you feel the Empire's boot on the neck of the galaxy, and it's evident not just in how like the characters on Ferrix feel, but also with these security people, you know. And Cyril, and that's what makes Cyril interesting is that he is completely ignorant of that, and it's like it's fascinating to go to that conversation and then get to the end of episode 3 where like he really should
know if like the Empire came in there and they saw the ship that they're running, they'd be like, "Nope, you're we're taking over." And
we're taking
then they'd be
control here.
screwed.
I definitely think that I can't
There
remember
wouldn't be
the
any of
actress's
that
name.
one guy eating noodles on the job. If
Blue
Yeah.
noodles. Yeah, that's great. I love that we got blue noodles finally.
I'm really excited for the one ISB female officer to show up because I feel like there's going to be a lot of really good tension between her and Cyril. And like, is her name? I assume her name's been revealed like
Deidre
before.
Miro, I think is her name.
Yeah, it is Deidre.
Okay.
It is Deidre Miro. Yes, that's her name.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
I'm
like, really
Cyril
excited for her appearance.
Cyril is an interesting guy. Like when I was gonna like add at the end, like when he is standing there at the end of episode 3 after like Cassian has escaped, you can tell that he's thinking like, I should have listened to my like. You can almost wonder if he's thinking if he should have listened to his boss, because his boss turns out to be right in the end, like as corrupt and as that is. And also, I have to mention that guy. His boss is that guy tends to pop up a lot in like TV shows. He was in Game of Thrones and also in Doctor Who. But like,
wow,
yeah, like
we got a long run and there's a through line here.
There's definitely a through line. But also, and also like if we're talking like little cameos, there's also I can't remember the name of the guy who is at the shipyard, but that's Jamie Tartstad from Ted Lasso. And I kind of thought, is it that guy?
Yeah, like Pegler.
Pegler.
And I was
like,
guy. This guy looks
It's
familiar.
a very Star Wars name.
Yeah, I was doing the same thing. Like I know him. Like something about his demeanor and like his weird passive aggressive attitude. Like something there. And then I was like, oh yeah, of course it's Jamie Tartstad.
Yeah,
of course. But
yeah, the one Cyril scene I also do like is like when he's like, "Oh, do you change your uniform?" It's like, yeah, I made
some
few
pockets, piping, and some light tailoring.
There's pockets out there, sir.
Wow.
Pockets are fermenting.
That's one of my favorite lines, just because of how it's delivered.
Such a good line. Fermenting, sir. Pockets are fermenting. Like I love that guy as well. Like I
really hope we see more of him, just because he's, for me at least, just because he's Scottish. And just a Scottish bad guy in Star Wars is like just ripe for some of the best lines ever. I feel like Tony Gilroy had such a time with writing his dialogue, because he's like, this guy's just gonna fucking eat it up.
Yeah, like he's very much like Adrian Edmondson's character in The Last Jedi, in that you get the sense he's more competent than Cyril, but like here, this guy is like really nudging Cyril into
he's such
confronting
a dick rider.
Yeah, exactly. He really is, because you can tell he's like itching to like go and like catch this guy, and he knows that Cyril is liable to suggestion, because like Cyril is so in over his head. It would be funny if there wasn't like such dire consequences.
Yeah, no, he's definitely one of the ones that also is drinking the Kool-Aid and is just more fanatical about it. Or at least very openly fanatical about it. And then we see a lot of parallels with this corporate police of the unfortunate things that is present with profiling in real world police. Specifically, I mean, there's a big scene in the 3rd episode, and a lot of just the small bits of dialogue. And we even saw this at the beginning in the first 5 minutes. But
Grana was what they called Andor.
Yeah, and they're like, dark-skinned Canary male. And it's just like, with the profiling, and it's like, all right, pull up every single one that fits that. And then they eventually find Cassian Andor. And I'm like, I'm getting uncomfortable here. But I think that's very much the point. And hats off to Tony Gilroy for having the balls to have a immigrant-coded story in Star Wars. And
they're not subtle.
No punches with it. And I think it's incredible.
And it puts the whole idea to rest that like you have to be subtle with something in order for it to be good. Like there's nothing.
Star Wars has never been subtle.
No.
Exactly, and that's why it's
this
great.
This is a running joke with the podcast. Every time someone shows up with like General Loathsome, no one here like that.
Who was also Scottish.
Yes,
you're stalling, General Kenobi.
Might we have some refreshments? Throwback to the first episode of the show. Was there a line, or am I making this up, where it's like where they're talking to either Cassian or Bix, and they ask like, "Oh, did you swim over here?"
Yeah, it was one of the two
Cassian.
cops. Yeah, it was to Cassian. Like, did you swim over here or something? And it's like, I didn't understand. Again, first watch through, didn't think of it. It was a throwaway line to me. But like second watch through, and I think someone tweeted about it. I was like, oh, that is
Like,
fucking bad, bro.
Yeah, like it's so grounded in it's not just like topical in like a superficial sense. It really takes a lot of like political issues of like today, and it's already weaving them into the story in like really organic ways, and like tying it to like, you know, what leads to a rebellion, and it really like builds to like.
We
this
even
really,
see
like,
it with the third episode when Timm gets offed. Like, I know we all hate Timm.
We haven't even talked about Timm yet.
Like, but like
Timm is not the most well-liked guy.
Like, him getting offed, I was like, this shouldn't have fucking happened. Like, what the fuck?
I have my thoughts on that.
And the fact that they like, I don't know what the right word is, but like basically arrested Bix for some reason, and it's like, all right, it's kind of sus.
Yeah, very. But
it's almost like, go on.
Oh, I was just gonna say, speaking of 3M watching, the one thing that I didn't catch in my first watch through, because a lot of Andor's plot or Cassian's plot in these 3 episodes revolves around the box that he gives to Luthen in the 3rd episode. He's trying to give. Did they show or say how he got it, or is it just implied that he stole it from the Empire before the opening scene of the show?
Yeah, it's implied that. Well, he says to Luthen, I went in and got it myself. Yes,
I thought he like stole it in the I don't know if he stole. Yeah, I thought he stole it in like the first 5 minutes of the episode. I don't know. I thought it was implied like maybe he got. I never.
Because that was the one thing where I was like, did I miss a scene or something, or is it just like one of the convos with Bix that I just miss a line? But I think let's transition, because I've somehow lasted almost 45 minutes without talking about Bix. So
we all have.
Gloves off.
Yeah.
You can see my name if you're watching on video right here. My new favorite.
Yeah, she's very like
overall thoughts about Bix.
Overall thoughts about no thoughts, just love.
Just love for Bix.
Indeed.
She's like, there's the obvious caveat that she's really attractive, but like also the fact that like she's really tough. She's really like, I don't want to say feisty. I feel like that's not the right word here. I feel like that's inappropriate here. It's just not inappropriate, but it just doesn't feel like the right word to use here.
She's very like right capable off the bat. You can tell, how capable and like she just takes like every scene.
She's the one who is like, she's already like, because we see in the story, she is already like involved with Luthen. She's already like interacting with him, and you get the sense that she was maybe like, we obviously are going to see more of her as the show goes on. I'm like certain of it, but like I get the sense
they better not kill her.
I'm not ready. I'm still not over Tala. I don't want to lose Bix as well, but like, you know, I get the sense that she's way more involved with the rebellion already, and she already has that kind of like drive to like fight back. And I love that she's like one of the cool. She really is one of those characters who doesn't like is like so done with Cassian's bullshit, but you can tell that she also cares about him on a very deep level, even if like they're not a couple, which is interesting. We've never had like an ex couple like as like the main sort of male female pairing of a show. Like, you know, the closest we've got to like an ex of a character in like live action is
live action.
Yes. But like live action, I was talking about like the Twi'lek, that I'm blanking on names all the time in this episode. The Twi'lek who appears in that one episode of Mando during the jail break.
Oh, what's her name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about.
Exactly who you're talking about.
The actress who she was Tonks in Harry Potter, and she's in Game of Thrones. Natalie Natalia
Tena,
Tena.
yeah.
That's her name. Yeah.
Could not tell you the name of her character, but I
Yeah.
know exactly what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know. I love it. Like, there's definitely some history there. But I'll tell you what, the tension's still there. Like, I was that first scene where they're like, I think Bix or Cassian's kind of cornering her, like in their
in the shop.
Bix's, shop. I was just like, all right, hold on. I'm gripping my chair real quick right now because I'm getting into it. Screaming, like tension. Already shipping it, and then fucking Timm comes out of there. Are we betting on the race? I'm like, you get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, are we betting on the Wobani jump? Are we betting on the Wobani run? And I'm like, fuck Rogue you people reference. Who are like, oh, there's no references.
Oh my god, like,
but
yeah,
no
like
Easter eggs, guys, right? None, like
no Easter eggs.
Yeah,
that's my new way of like breaking like tense moments now. Is I'm just gonna come out. It's like, are we betting on the Wobani run? just the look on his face just walks into shot. I'm like, dude, I don't like you. Like already, I'm just like, fuck.
You could tell he's
you're
like,
with this guy. I'm like,
you're like, this dude like punching. This dude was definitely punching.
I didn't like this man before he snitched. I was like, I don't like this fucking guy.
Yeah, because you could just tell that he's just like bristling with jealousy for like over Cassian. Because like this is the thing about Timm, because I'm not gonna like defend him necessarily, because I appreciate that he is still written as like a three-dimensional character where you can at least understand why he might feel that way, because he clearly cares about Bix a lot. He clearly feels for her, but he's also overcome with jealousy because like he sees, like, it's obvious that Bix hasn't quite opened up to him yet, probably because she gets the sense that this is a guy who might do shit like this, so he might not be 100% like worthy of trust, but like, he sees that she is open with Cassian in a way that she isn't with him for good reason, it turns out, and he wants what she has with Cassian, even if they're like, even if there's like a barrier between them at the moment.
There's the scene, I think it's in this episode, maybe it's in the second one, where she's going off to, I think, contact Luthen, and he keeps trying to follow her, and eventually
it's
she gets lost in the crowd. And it's just like he very clearly feels shut out, and it leads to him snitching and that fucking rat bastard. But immediately I'm just like, I don't like this guy. Like, and it wasn't even the fact that it was, I want her with Cassian and not, that's part of it, but that's a lot of it. But it was just like something immediately. I'm like, you have a very punchable face, my dude.
Yeah, and just very untrustworthy vibes
with Cassian, where he's just kind of ribbing him about being with Bix, and he's like, I'm tired of hearing that. I'm like, dude, go away. Like,
like, I love Cassian's reply, like, then you need to like find yourself a less complicated woman, which is like it's which brings me back to like to Bix and stuff, because like, I actually knew the actress from like a previous project, like Adria Arjona. She was in Good Omens.
Morbius.
She was really good in that. Yeah, like she plays a character called Anathema Device. And just to like keep the Doctor Who gag running, like that was a show that starred David Tennant, Professor Yang, also the Doctor. But like, she was really good in that. Like she's a revelation here. Like I see her like getting so like just like becoming like a superstar after this.
It's bad that the first thing I saw her in was Morbius, which wasn't good.
See, I keep forgetting she's in Morbius.
Yeah, that's she's the main love interest in that, and she was fine in that, but like nothing like unspectacular, just like generic female romance lead that eventually might do something if there's a Morbius 2, which there won't be.
I mean, she has to share the screen with Jared Leto.
Leto. But then another Doctor Who connection with Matt Smith, and then almost a Star Wars connection. But he got cut from Rise of Skywalker, or was he never even cast? Like, I still don't even know the full story behind it.
It's a mystery to this
Matt
day.
Smith. It's like, he's in, not. He was cast, but he wasn't. He shot his scenes, but he didn't.
There was a whole point where I thought he was Archie, like where I looked at Archie and I was like, "Is that Matt Smith? Is that like Matt Smith?"
Yeah, there were several points in that movie where I was just trying to figure out, okay, what character is Matt Smith playing here? I was like, is he Claude? Is he Bully? But then I realized my guy Bulio was Mark Hamill. So
just the thought of like Matt Smith just like showing up to
Bulio
like, Star
shouldn't have
Wars
died.
and just
like everyone talks about like
Win the war.
Like
I was
everyone
like-
talks about like bringing Ben Solo back. Fuck Ben Solo in this case. Bring back Julio.
I remember, I think my first time watching it, like during the Sheev fight with Rey and Ben at the end, I'm like, okay, so is some random like other Sith gonna show up and it's gonna be Matt Smith? I'm just like, where is he in there? Because I don't think he's shown up yet. And it's like, no, he just wasn't in the movie. Or I was like, is he gonna be Rey's dad? And then
and then it's
Nope.
like, and it's the big attention getter is more like Jodie Comer as her mum, who I'm in my head canon is still that she's a secret Kenobi. No one's taken that away from me, like until Lucasfilm decides to retcon it.
she's Obi-Wan and Tala's. Oh wait, no, Tala's dead. Never mind. I was gonna say daughter, but no, there's no way that
Killing
could
me,
happen.
Andrew.
That's me not knowing how biology works. But I think we should save the overall discussion of the flashbacks until like one big one when we get to the third episode. But I do just real quickly just want to say I love how they're shot. I love the way that there's very little dialogue. I love the way that there's no subtitles.
There's no
for
subtitles.
That's
the-
such a
the
bold choice
conversations.
as well. Yeah, because like you get, and it's done in such a way where you can get what they're saying to each other without needing to like
Subtitles.
understand
Like,
what they're exactly
need to
saying.
just listen to how they're listen to sort of their tone of their voice, and then just look at like their body language. I was like, damn, Tony, I love this.
Now here,
Good writing.
I have a question for you guys. This might be a case of making the universe smaller, which I know a lot of us aren't for. Do you think Bix is also from the same tribe that Cassian is from, or do you think that they just have some other kind of past history?
See, I don't think so because of what later transpires with Marva. But like, it's very possible she could be. And
Yeah,
she
because
also
I'm
got
just
off
like,
the
oh,
planet.
they're the only two people in Ferrix
Yeah.
of like Latin origin.
Well, we are getting more flashbacks. Like,
Yeah,
we obviously,
like
because
there's still
we
a
don't
lot
see-
of scenes from the trailers
Yeah.
that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, because we know that there's like scenes of Cassian clean shaven, which are clearly meant to be him younger. So
Yeah.
we're probably going to see like how he meets Bix and how they
None of the clone
how they
trooper
know
stuff
each
has
other.
shown up yet. It's not like Obi-Wan,
That's true.
where by like the end of episode 3 or 4, we're like, okay, everything
Where's
from
the
here on out
flashbacks?
is fair game because we've gotten all the scenes in the trailers so far.
That's true. Yeah, because
There's also-
that's what happens when you have 12 episodes. You
Yeah,
you
way
can
more to work
stagger the
with.
footage out. Exactly. You've got so much more to work with, and that's like had 3 episodes for the premiere, and we still have another 9. That's incredible.
Yeah. It's like the show is done in a way, we brought up Slow Burn. It's done in a way like Luthen didn't show up until almost the end of the second episode. Mon Mothma, there's nothing with her in these episodes.
Exactly.
And at first I was kind of thrown off. I'm like, is she just not going to be in any of these? But I kind of like it because it gave
Yeah.
this full 3 episodes to be about Cassian and his adopted
Exactly.
home and
Yeah.
establishing who, Marva is and bringing in Cyril's role in the story, which I really loved. And because they have the 12 episodes, they have more room to do it. And it doesn't feel like filler or padding or anything like that. It
No.
just feels like a natural way of introducing these characters, because I do think it would have been kind of forced if they just randomly in episode 1 was like, all right, let's cut to Coruscant right now and just
Yeah.
talk about Mon Mothma, who has no connection to Cassian yet. I think now that we've introduced the rebellion in the 3rd episode, now it makes more sense to show Mon Mothma. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's the first scene we see in episode 4 is her on Coruscant.
That was my exact thought when I finished watching all 3 episodes. I was like, all right, so we're getting like Imperial Senate stuff next episode, which makes a lot of sense because like I think it's quite clear that Luthen Rail has like connections to Mon Mothma, like because I know there's footage of the two of them interacting in the trailer, and there's now freeze frame photo of like him in Mon Mothma's office with what looks like basically Plo Koon's mask.
Yeah.
Which is like, yeah, because they said there's no Easter eggs, so like,
No, that's not an Easter egg.
I mean, we're
Sorry.
clowning on that a lot, but like, I think it's interesting that like a lot of people misinterpreted what he said,
I
like
just
Tony
love-
Gilroy in
yeah.
that interview, because like what he was actually saying was like, we strive to make any connective tissue, like feel organic to the story. You know, he says, I always wanted it to be protein, where it doesn't take away. It doesn't feel like indulgent. It feels like something that naturally fits into the story, which is like, you know, it's what you should aspire to make any kind of like fan service, whether it's like a cameo or like a little Easter egg. So like, you know, if it fits within the story, that's a wise decision to do it. You shouldn't just do it because like fans will like it. Although, for the record, Cassian wielding a Briar pistol is awesome, and it's like my favorite bit of like Easter egg stuff in the thing. Because I've played Jedi Knight, Jedi Outcast so much as a kid. It was like was probably the game I played the most of like Star Wars, and like so seeing that represented was just kind of cool. I liked it.
Yeah, definitely.
Give me a tingle.
Yeah, the thing that the Grace Randolph thing doesn't make any sense to me because she was like, oh yeah, there's no Easter eggs and there wasn't Rogue One. And then the thing she lists is like Death Star, Darth Vader. I'm like, those aren't Easter eggs. Those are main portions of the movie. That's not what an Easter egg is. That's like it's main like when people plot and characters.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, like fun cameo by the Death Star.
Yeah, it's like when people started calling all of those like appearances in the Bad Batch, in Bad Batch season 1, they started calling them cameos. It's like, no, those aren't cameos. They're guest spots. They're like guest stars.
Grace Randolph needs to be deplatformed.
Yeah, like no more. Like Grace Randolph. Yeah, for sure. Like
white women just need to be stopped.
What did she say? Like, oh, I need these shows to do this because this is my job to talk about these Easter eggs. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Like, I don't mean to be this guy, but if that's your job, find a new
you got to get a better job.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
find a new one. Like I just
feed into the whole Kathleen Kennedy internal war at Lucasfilm bullshit.
This show doesn't interest me just because I don't care about Cassian or something. I'm like,
don't watch it.
I don't. Yeah, don't watch it. Two, it's like we're the people that are like making such a huge deal about like I'm not gonna cover Andor and then do this like 8 or like tweet like description of why they're not going to cover it, or like they make this massive video about it. I'm like, here's a thought: just don't don't
like,
make videos about it.
You don't like it? That's fine, dude.
Huge scene like trying to get like sympathy reaction or something. Like I don't understand it. Like how simple is we're just not going to do like if we just decided, hey, we're not going to cover Andor, either we just say like, hey, like we're just not going to do Andor discussions like we did Obi-Wan, and we'd leave it at that, or we do one big thing at the end.
With this one,
it's just I don't understand that. But episode 1 was awesome. It was I loved how it just was structured and everything. Episode 2 I thought was even better, but then we got to get to I believe the beginning of this episode. Fucking Timm, I just this
Timm.
Okay,
that's gonna get clipped. Just the fucking Timm. That's getting clipped.
Fucking Timm.
Timm.
So Andor's whole like mugshot or wanted sign or poster by like the virtual wanted poster by the corporate police is posted, or the description of him is, and there's a big thing that Cassian and Marva have this conversation, which we're going to talk about, of how Cassian doesn't list his birthplace as Canary. He lists it as Ferrix. This is kind of like something he keeps secret.
It's Fest.
Oh yeah, my bad. Yeah,
because this is the interesting thing, like because they're not on Fest. They're on a different planet, which is that's
what I find really interesting. That's the thing. They made it so clever because in the Rogue One visual dictionary, if you don't know, the Rogue One visual dictionary lists Cassian's homeworld as Fest.
Exactly.
So technically,
it's not a retcon.
Technically, you could it's not a retcon at all. It's just the most clever way of making sure that information is still within canon without actually taking it out.
Now the other thing that was like I believe was in the Rogue One visual dictionary, maybe it was in Catalyst, was the fact that Cassian came from separatist parents. So are we going to find out that Marva and Clem, or are we going to find out that they were separatists?
This man's name is Clem. Wow.
Yeah.
They make sure to say they are fleeing.
But it's
from
like
the
separatist name
Republic
tags,
vessel.
but so it's probably just disguised or whatever. I don't know. We'll find
But they
out.
refer to one of the dead commander or soldiers as a Republic officer, and they're fleeing from the Republic. So I don't know what
thought we were going to get like a shot of a Venator like coming in at the very end of the episode as like Marva makes a getaway.
I'm assuming we're going to find out more, and I don't think this is it for the stuff because they do say that Kenari was destroyed in a mining disaster by the Empire. So clearly, we're going to see some occupation stuff happening there.
Mining disasters are the best cover-up story for the Empire. It happened with Edu. It happened here. It happened with Conor.
Happened with Jeddah.
We're gonna see a
lot
more.
Not Edu. I said Edu. Wow. Yeah, Jeddah. Thank you.
I mean, they probably gave the same excuse for Edu because that whole place went kablooey thanks to the Alliance. So
we're gonna see a lot more colonialism conversations happen in these future episodes,
especially with like the way that they have the way they present that whole tribe is interesting as well. Like the way that they have like the very clear like native inspiration, with the war paint. Like because I've seen Prey, so like I recognize exactly what that was. I was like, I see the coding you're going for, and
I need to
really
watch that because of Amber Midhunter. She seems really cool.
I do really want to watch Prey.
Okay, really you guys need to watch Prey as soon as possible. It kicks so much ass. It's literally in my top 10 of the films of all time this year because it's so good. It's the best Predator film like since the first one. It even does things for me that are better than the original Predator.
It can't be any worse than the Shane Black one. That was awful.
I haven't seen that one. I have seen Predator 2. I watched Predator 2 recently. Not my favorite sequel, for sure. Like
I've never seen Predator 2, and I've never seen what's the one that came out with isn't Topher Grace?
Robert Rodriguez directed that one. That one's Predators. That's on Disney Plus. That and the first two Predators are on Disney Plus. The one thing I will say about Predator 2, don't watch Predator 2.
The one thing I'll say about it is I'm not going to say anything about it.
Just skip to Predators. Like you'll be better off.
That's what we should have done with the Goldie episodes of Clone Wars. Is the one thing I'll say about it is don't watch it, and then
Predator,
the end of the episode.
Predator 2 is the Goldie episodes of like
the Predator franchise.
The only good things in those episodes was the fact that R2 bodied Goldie. That's it.
Yeah, like that and Ahsoka like fighting Grievous.
Grievous, yeah.
We don't need to like rehash like the Goldie episodes.
But anyway,
we need to rehash though. Timm ratting out Cassian like the little rat bitch he is. I don't like this man. And then they have the gall to right after this. I think it was in the same episode. Maybe it was in the third episode. They're all blending in. They make us deal through a Timm sex scene. Damn you, Tony Gilroy! I don't want to see that rat bitch with my woman.
Oh.
How dare you?
It was like I'm
Team
so impressed
Cassian all the way.
I was so impressed with what they were able to convey with that scene. Like just her taking off her jacket indicates like so much of like what's gonna happen. You're like, oh, okay. And it's amazing that like they didn't even have to like they didn't have to like have a gratuitous shot of like Adria Arjona like taking her clothes off. Like it's just exactly the jacket and the way she takes off the jacket just conveys so much. And I also have to mention the actor who plays Timm.
Tony Gilroy is a respectful man.
Yeah, the writing is really clever writing and direction. Like I forget the name. I've got the name in my notes. Like the director for the first 3 episodes.
Toby Haynes.
Yeah, he's really good because he's able to get the like intricacies of the script across, like with the way the characters like interact with each other. But like also like the performance he gets out of the actor who plays Timm is really interesting because like you get the sense like from the moment Timm rats out Cassian, he knows he's messed up. He knows he's done. Like he knows the moment Bix finds this out, she will not want anything to do with him. and like he's standing there, like you get the sense that he knows he should tell her, but he can't bring himself to, because like in the moment he does, he'll lose her, and that's it. And it's a fascinating thing to see happen with a character that like, you otherwise you don't really like. You don't really like Timm, but you kind of pity him in a way. At least that's how I felt.
But you definitely, even at the end, when Bix feels very betrayed by him, you can definitely tell that she cares a lot for him.
Yeah, exactly.
And I just even loved how the scenes start. Okay, was it in episode 2 or episode 3? Because I feel like I'm jumping ahead here. I think it was in the second episode. But like she comes in, it's like, oh, I couldn't sleep. It's like, is it too late to come in? And then like one thing leads to another. Was this our first live action reference of Calf, by the way?
Yes,
I think
it was.
So. Yeah.
Okay.
This is how much of a nerd I am for Star Wars that like I heard Calf mentioned and I was like, yes.
I'm like, oh, there we go.
I've been reading it so many times, like just to hear it mentioned is like it's so gratifying.
It's just
and it's
like,
oh. it fits like actually like someone I read a tweet like that said Cassian, like the Andor show feels a lot like a Star Wars novel adapted into live action.
Yeah,
and I totally agree with that, because you get the intricacies and the day-to-day lives of the characters here, and that's what makes these first 3 episodes really special, because like as you said, we get the whole sense of this community on Ferrix, and we get the intricacies in the day-to-day lives of Bix and Timm and like Vetch and even Cassian as well. Like we get a sense of their lives. It feels the most lived in of all the Star Wars Disney Plus shows. Like I love Obi-Wan, and I think Mando and Boba Fett are really, really good. Well, Mando is really good. Book of Boba Fett has its issues, but that's for another episode. But like, you know, this by far is the most lived in feeling. It really feels like there is so much more going on in the world of this show that beyond just the screen. And that's like, that really gets at the heart of what makes Star Wars so appealing, because like that's what made A New Hope like such a massive thing. And when it came out in 77, like you had like all of this other stuff that just like these little additions in the background that feel like, wait, what? There's like a devil in the bar. There's a wolfman. There's all these other like weird aliens and these like terminologies and stuff that you could fill like a whole book with.
Yeah.
And they're just like, there in the background.
They're just there and they just act like it's perfectly normal. And I think that's the appeal of the Star Wars universe, is like there's all this stuff, but they don't act like it's like otherworldly or like and all this other sci-fi stuff. Like it's there. That's just how it is. And then you have these real world characters in there that you can follow, and like some of them might be humans and some of them might be this insane alien species, but we're not going to make jokes about like, oh, you're like an alien or something. Like, isn't that kind of weird? Like Chewie is just there and he's introduced, but like, and they make
there's no lampshade hanging, and that's what's like kind of special about Star Wars. It doesn't need to lampshade hang because of like the way this universe exists. Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Like, you know, you're a giant furry Wookiee, right? And it's like, well, yeah.
I mean, the closest we have got is literally Leia's joke about Chewie. Would somebody get this big walking carpet out of my way?
Yeah. But yeah, so I went on my Timm rant. It might not be my last one too. But again, so we get introduced to a couple characters in this episode. We obviously get introduced to Luthen later, and I love his introductory scene, like I said. But we also get introduced to someone that we talked about earlier, which was the other officer in Cyril's division, the Scottish guy that has the potty mouth. Like we talked about his, I love his introductory scene. It's just perfect because they're just going through everything, and he just shows up, and then eventually, when we get to the speech on the ship, I think that's next episode. Just great stuff. Great stuff.
The cringe.
He just gives like the most like cliche like military
tightly
speech
wound
ever. Yeah.
speech.
And then it's like,
Yeah.
all right, Captain, are you gonna say anything?
God damn it,
I'm-
Cyril.
Yeah,
That's all I could say.
I'm
Like,
glad to be
this is the
fighting
thing.
this with you.
I was
Let's
gonna
do
say
it.
about Cyril. Like Cyril is like the thing about Cyril is this is why you hire Kyle Soller to play this exact kind of character, because like I know him from Poldark. He played the character Francis, and he has that exact energy you need for like someone who really believes in something and really wants to be the best at something, but just isn't. Like, you know, he just knows that a character who knows deep down that he's in over his head, but wants desperately to be on a higher playing field.
Yep, definitely. And I don't know that whole dynamic with all the officers and stuff. I do really like it because again, you can tell that like the Scottish guy whose name I'm forgetting and Cyril, like they are such on their own high horse and they're so entrenched in the imperial indoctrination, even though they're not directly working for the Empire. And then all the other people are probably just like, yo, we just work here. Like we're just trying to make a living here. And then they're just caught up in all of this. But those bastards did something in the third episode, so they can all go to hell for all I care. But we do see this whole episode, we kind of are building towards Cassian's escape plan. And then we see him try to lie to B2 at one point. And then we have the conversation with Marva, his adopted mother, played by Fiona Shaw. And she kills it in these episodes, not just in the flashbacks, but just in like the real-time scenes too. I love this first scene. There was a moment, again, I talked about it earlier, where they're having a conversation, and Cassian just slowly, like his register gets louder and he starts tensing up, and I'm like, this is such a powerful scene. And then that moment where he's going through all the people that he might have shared his original origin with, all of his like female like cohorts in the past, and B2 mentions Bix, and he just screams like she is not a part of this. And I just thought it was such a powerful scene because again, they haven't directly said anything about their past yet, but you can just tell like the deep history that the two characters have, and to me that makes it way more compelling. And I'm like, I hope it works out with these kids at the end.
And it gives Cassian a sense of honor, doesn't it? Because like, you know, he's been up to this point, he's been
anyone under the bus.
And the writing is like, and that's what's clever about the writing, because like it would be so easy to risk falling into the territory where like Cassian seems like a weasel because he's trying to get away constantly. But instead, it's written so that he's instead, much like Han Solo, more of a scoundrel, which is like exactly the kind of archetype you want for him, given this moral grayness that the show is aiming for, which is another reason it feels so unique in Star Wars.
I'm glad they didn't go in the direction that maybe other shows would have gone in, where like they have this conversation and like Cassian just makes himself think that Bix like ratted him out, and then that would have led to some tension between them. I'm glad they didn't go in that direction.
Well, there's no stupid misunderstanding and stuff
no,
like that.
Oh,
that
how
that
dare
feels
you?
forced.
It's like I didn't do anything, and then it's revealed, and like Timm's like, oh, that was me. Which the one thing I do actually appreciate about these episodes, and this might change later, but Cassian never finds out about Timm framing him.
Right.
And he never finds out that Timm dies. Unless there's a scene that we haven't seen yet, because it's with Bix and Cassian, because we just see them, him and Luthen just hightail it out of there at the end. So Cassian has no idea that this even happens. He just knows about the police coming, but you know,
the one thing I want to talk about with just the really, really, really cool thing was how when Timm was typing in the information of like, I can't even remember what it was, but like it was in Arabic on the screen,
and then it popped up.
But then it popped up and translated into English, and I'm like, that's really cool, and I want more Star Wars stories.
Such a cool graphic, it's such a cool graphic to like to do that, because like Yeah, I mean, I know shows like Sherlock have done it, and it's a really cool way of just like bringing some like modern TV, like modern directorial techniques into Star Wars. And that's what made Rogue One really cool, because Rogue One brought a lot of modern war movie style filmmaking techniques to Star Wars, and Andor is continuing that. There's a lot of shaky cam, there's a lot of intimate shots with like the characters, it feels very much like that. And I was going to kind of like make a comparison between like Cassian and Jin because of where they are in their stories. Yes. So the comparison I was going to make was that like Cassian is very much like Jin here, because he doesn't really believe in a cause yet. And that's what's interesting here. You're seeing someone who is wholly out for himself for the most part. Even, he's a good person at heart, because he cares enough about his loved ones to not throw them under the bus. But he also very much is like, I just want to go and do this. I just am laser focused on doing this thing. I don't have any grander aspirations, or like I'm not wedded to a cause. It's like when Jin says in Rogue One, like, oh, all the alliance, all it's brought me is pain. And it's a similar thing with Cassian, because as we see in the flashbacks, like he was taken off of his home world, brought onto like a planet that was at odds with like the main governmental power, and then it comes into conflict with the Empire. It's just he was brought into a world that he had no control over, and all he's known since then is like pain and difficulty.
Exactly. I really agree with everything you said there, and I love the way that they've set up Cassian's story in these episodes, of just having him be like someone doing his own thing, just trying to survive, having to manipulate and steal from certain sects. And we have that conversation with him and Luthen in the 3rd episode about stealing from the Empire, and how that's just always just been something. It's like stealing from anyone else.
That conversation is one of the best conversations in Star Wars. Like the way Diego Luna, that's like such a great performance from Diego Luna, and also from Stellan Skarsgård.
Unreal, man.
I love the line. You just walk in like you belong.
Yes.
What do you need? Like an outfit, some dirty hands, and an Imperial toolkit. They're so proud of themselves. They don't even care. They're so fat and satisfied. I love it. It's so like, it encapsulates the Empire and just any fascist regime and like any dominant power.
Every like generic Imperial officer we met in any story.
Arrogant.
Like, that is in over themselves, arrogant.
Yeah.
Thinks they're above everyone. Just great. And I loved that.
And that's the thing, because like there's again a risk that this show could fall into like, grimdark territory where everything's nihilistic and bleak. And what's amazing is the writing finds this undercurrent of hope throughout the whole thing. And yet, even though you have this rather sad ending where Cassian has to flee his home, he is, and like he's just escaping by the skin of his teeth, and you see that, Timm, lose his life very violently. You still have this undercurrent of hope because of how the community bands together against this encroaching threat, this encroaching bullying force. And there's that lovely speech from Fiona Shaw about like how, this is what a reckoning looks like.
What a reckoning looks like.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I just love
feeling
that thing they did with banging the
yes. Yes.
So good.
It's a good setup and payoff. Like they have the whole thing of that dude in
the tower. Oh, I loved those shots.
That dude just looks like I love that dude. Like it
looks like he's having the time of his life. Like he was made specifically for this job.
Yeah, he loves his job, and that's that's something we should all like aspire to love your job as much as the guy who bangs the bell in Ferrix.
In Fennec Shand. But that's but yeah, like again, we are introduced to Luthen, who shows up. He is Bix's buyer. Admittedly, 3:30 a.m. Didn't quite make that connection at first. It took me a bit. I'm like, okay, so he's the buyer. I just thought he was just randomly going to Ferrix. They're like, he heard about Cassian. He's going to help him out. I didn't realize that he was Bix's buyer. But I just love he arrives there, and then he's got to go on like public transport. And then the guy, the old dude that he was talking to, just like talking like this is the greatest place in the world. It's like your first time here, and talking to him about all this random stuff, and he's just sitting there and like not saying anything, like until like the very end, and the dude just keeps talking, and he's just like, I didn't even find him annoying. I'm just like, this guy, like, this is just you've all met that one guy before.
Yeah.
We all know that one guy.
We all know that one guy.
Yeah, that guy's popped up in a lot as well. Like, again, Doctor Who. He was in an episode of that, and he's also was in The Witcher.
How many times have we said that this episode?
Like
some guy who was in Doctor Who.
There's so many.
He was in Doctor Who.
That is my experience, like watching most shows nowadays. Like most shows and movies, if like there's a British person, like if there's a British person who's like an up and comer, I'll be like, where have I seen them? Oh yeah, they're in Doctor Who. Yeah, like they're in an episode of Doctor Who. Like that's how big that is. That show is over here now. But like it helps build the careers of every British person. Like even Felicity Jones was also in Doctor Who, which is nuts. But that whole conversation is interesting because it just forwards the whole narrative here about like how the corporations, like it just furthers the idea of like corporations like extracting like money out of people, like how he says that they're basically inviting us here to, they're paying us, that we're paying them to come and spend our money. Which is such an interesting line. And you have like this whole back and forth where like this dude, like the dude feels almost kind of like he's out of the 1940s, like he's like a chipper older gentleman who wants to, who has like, he knows that everything kind of sucks, but he still has a spring in his step. He's an interesting dude, that guy.
He's that one guy that like doesn't matter like where your neighborhood is. It's like he's gonna be like, okay, this is still the greatest place like in the world. And like we all know someone like that like has such pride in where they're from and just describing it to like these new people. I just really liked it. And then I just love the recent thing that we've been seeing. We saw it in Mando, we saw it in Book of Boba Fett, and we saw it in Kenobi too, like Star Wars version of public transport. Like I just love that this is a recurring thing we're getting now. And I don't know, I just really liked that scene. But the ending shot of Cassian just storming through the scrapyard as the drums are kicking in and everything, I was like, okay, I am hyped as hell. And then everything just hits the fan in the third episode. And it was such like a great conclusion to this arc of episodes, which we can get into. I think we should talk about all of the flashbacks now and just what our overall thoughts on them. We've already talked about. They were great. Yeah, we've already talked about
my thoughts. They were great.
I love.
They were really cool.
The buildup of them finding, or like we see the ship crashing and then them getting to it. And we see the one guy that we think is dead, and then the girl who I forgot her name. Yeah, but she's supposed to be the leader. Just pops in and just immediately, like, just so sudden, no time to breathe. Just no, she's dead, and they barely have time to react. And like she was built up as like the leader of this tribe, and like she was leading the mission, and she's immediately is gone.
And then it makes the whole like thing about like all the whole undercurrent of like, because we said that the characters there are like very much coded like with native. There's a lot of native coding there, and there's a lot of, and you said it, Andrew, about like the can't get the word out. Colonialism undercurrent, and you see that there with like how that poor woman is like is shot down. Like that guy doesn't even stop to like plead or anything or like say anything to her. He just gets up and just like shoots her, like blasts her. And there's something like, and it's one of the darkest moments for me of like the whole 3 episode span, because like there's that really sad scene where they all are weeping over over their leader, and like there's that shot of her just like staring up dead-eyed, like, and it's just like
I was hoping this is heavy. Like, did they just get her in the shoulder? But like, no, she's like dead. And
it's like surely they just injured her, and I'm like, oh shit, no, she's dead. That's
I was mad too. I was like, she's cool. I like her.
Because there was a shot of her like in the trailer or one of the trailers, I'm like, oh, is she gonna be like an important character? And it's like, no, she just is off immediately. But we brought up that scene with the war paint. I really loved that one. I just love like, even though we can't understand, or we have like, this is a completely like new language, so we have no idea what they're saying, but like you can still sense the conversations between Kassa and his sister and just everything. But another thing is like, Kenari, we don't know like how technologically advanced this civilization is. For all we know, this scene could have been the first time that tribe has seen a ship like that, or has even seen blasters, and immediately they have this new thing come in and just kill one of their own just like that, and then young Cassian walking around the ship, and that's why everyone was like, okay, so is this a separatist ship? Because it looks very Republic or very early Imperial, like design-wise, but we see the separatist emblems on the uniform, so it's like, is it a like a sting operation or something, or a Black Ops thing that the Republic is doing some shady shit? And then Marva and Clem come into Timm. There are some names here. Oh, by the way, guys, remember. So Andor isn't actually Cassian's last name. So are we gonna throw a fit about this one and say that Cassian's not actually an Andor and make that a thing for like 3 years, or does that only apply to one specific?
Does that only apply to women, to female characters?
Oh, does that only apply to one? It's almost like adoption and found family has been a theme of Star Wars since the beginning. But this one we just don't care about this one, right? Like, or
it's almost like
throw a fit here.
Just gonna brush it under the rug like that one officer with Cyril.
Yeah. It's like because if we're talking about like adoptive things, like, you know, people tend to like. I mean, I know some people like rubbish that scene, but that whole scene in Solo when that Imperial officer just randomly gives Han the name Solo.
I didn't like it at first. I think it's funny now, and
it is funny. It's funny the way it's done so offhand, but it's like it also speaks to like the continued themes of like adoption, found family, because just like Leia and Rey, and as we see now Cassian, are like taken into these other families. Like Han has to make like a name for himself, literally. Which, like, I mean, I could get into like the intricacies of that.
Imperial and Solo is just one of my favorite Imperials in all of Star Wars.
Yeah, like just his face, like Han.
Solo.
And they just... it's like his face, like he's just like
he's like, I'm gonna be a pilot. And he's just like humoring him, like,
like, yeah, sure, dude.
Good luck with that. Good luck, Han Solo. And then we just the smash cut to
we'll have you flying in no time. Whoa!
Yeah.
Great edit. Great
I
love
transition. That goddamn movie. But this is not
so
a Solo discussion yet. But there is a Solo reference in here because the hounds in the scrapyard are from Solo, but remember, no Easter eggs. None.
Yeah.
None. Yeah.
I laughed out loud when one of them peed on poor B2. I was like, oh,
forgot about that.
I was like, oh, god damn it, just like a real dog.
Yeah. Because I was like, oh, because B2 just pauses. And then Zao walks away, and then comes back and starts pissing on him, and he's gonna shock him. I was like, oh, no.
People are talking like, is this the first time there's been sex in a Star Wars show? And it's like, what we really should be asking is this the first time we've seen piss in a Star Wars show?
Maybe.
I think so.
I was waiting for like Cassian to have a remark like B2, like what's going on here? Like, oh yeah, but that's another thing that I don't. It's like, oh, is this the first time sex has been in Star Wars? It's like, one, how do you think Padme and Anakin, Padme got pregnant? Like
I think,
put two together. Also,
I think they didn't exactly
Qui-Gon,
sleep
definitely.
in different beds.
Yeah,
dude,
Shmi and Qui-Gon, definitely.
Yeah,
and then not to mention in the Rising Storm that it's just a very clear actual sex scene, but that's
Yeah.
And Eldar gets up and he's
Lost
just like,
Stars?
oh shit.
Yeah.
Like Lost Stars, Princess and the Scoundrel,
down,
both of those stories like heavily feature that kind of stuff, and it's like, well, heavily allude to it, and it's like it's always been ever present. This is just the first time like live action has like aggressively hinted at.
Yeah, like this is there's no scooting around this one. Like this is what actually happened here.
Nah, exactly. No room for doubt.
I remember one of my friends that went to the premiere was live tweeting Andor when it came out. I was like, and all the people that thought that the sex scene was going to have Cassian in it. And I'm like, yeah, sure wish. Instead it was fucking Timm. And his, I'm glad we just didn't see like bare ass shot of Timm. Like Tony Gilroy and Toby Haynes saving me there.
Yeah, they're like, we'll be merciful. We'll just hint at it. We won't give you any like imagery.
But let's talk about something slightly worse than that thought, which is the Cyril's speech and then the invasion of Ferrix by the police.
Yep.
They just
and then everyone just being like, "We got the blues here," or whatever. They said.
5-0. Like they're literally dressed like they're literally coded as cops, and like there's such a. Again, it's such a contemporary thing because like, you know, like the attitude to like the police in any country now is like an all-time low, like in terms of like just how they're perceived. And so like it's that kind of shorthand that's just communicated fantastically, like where they see these people, the people in the community, and they're like, nah, these people are bad news. We need to communicate it. Like, and I love that they have that special communication of like banging on the bells to communicate to one another, and it leads to that great
and it doesn't stop for like 10 minutes,
and then you have Marva saying that line, "You should be worried for when it stops," and I was like, oh, that's so good because it builds the tension, and then it stops and you're like, shit's about to go down. Like it's just very good. Like
also I almost shout out Cassian for having a Bantha plushie in his room at Marva's place.
That man's a real one.
I love that man so much. That man.
That's so cool.
They better not have destroyed that when those goddamn cops came in to do the search, because don't touch Cassian's Bantha.
Yeah. Like, don't touch my shit.
But like quickly switching back to the flashbacks, because we see Marva and Clem kind of take Cassian because does she like knock him out or something and then bring him with her? Like, or
I can't
does he just
remember.
Like pass out?
Yeah,
I think it might have been. I think he might have
because he's just
out.
Trying to wreck everything in the ship, and he's originally like afraid of them, but then they hear the Republic like coming, or they're saying they'll
there's
be
like
here.
a Republic vessel.
Like, we got to get out of here soon. Yeah. So we know that this is still like Clone Wars era time. Like this is
because I thought for sure it was actually
yet.
Empire. I thought they were retconning Cassian's backstory.
That's
like
what I thought at first too.
Yeah, and then when they said about the Republic, I was like, oh, phew, they're keeping that intact, which is really cool because I hope we actually get some exploration of that in the next couple of episodes.
Yeah, for everything that Tony says that he has no reverence for Star Wars, he's pretty airtight with it.
Well, it's kind of like I always
also
like to think it's that Harrison. It's that kind of Harrison Ford mentality where it's like, you know, he doesn't act like there's a lot of reverence for it, but like the real truth is he doesn't fanboy over it. Like I always think that as much as Harrison Ford loves to to make fun of Star Wars, only because he knows it will get a reaction from people.
I don't know what a Force Ghost is.
Have you guys seen considering this like started with like an unfortunate Lego mishap, have you guys seen the video with Conan O'Brien with that Lego Millennium Falcon?
No.
All right, there is like a dude. I don't know if it was a bit or not. I hope to God it was a comedy bit. There's like a dude brings this like giant Millennium Falcon that he has been building, and he passes it to Conan O'Brien, who then passes it to like Peter Mayhew, who was there, and then they just passes it to J.J. Abrams. Pass it to J.J. Abrams, then J.J. Abrams passes it to Harrison Ford, and he literally just goes, whoa! And the thing just topples behind him and smashes on the floor.
I hope that's a bit. I don't think Harrison's that big of a dick.
And the best bit at the end is like the guy's standing there looking like completely crestfallen, and then Harrison just like gets out of his seat, takes a shard of the Lego, and signs it and gives it to the guy. It's like I just
That has to be a
hope-
bit.
It has
There's
to be a
no
bit.
way.
I was like, I got
That's
to the end of that. That's got to be taking the piss.
One
right?
of my
There's
favorite
no way.
things from the Force Awakens documentary is Harrison Ford signing John Boyega's like giant Han Solo action figure.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's so wholesome. I love
It's
Harrison
like it's
Ford.
like that bit. It's like that. Have you guys seen that photo of like Brie Larson and like Iman Vellani meeting
Harrison
meeting him
Ford?
at D23?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
that was
like
awesome.
bless Iman Vellani. Like her face is just like that's the face most Star Wars fans have that when they meet Harrison Ford. It's such a
I
such
love
a
how they
wholesome image.
casted like. I love like Kevin Feige stuff whenever he gets interviewed about her because it's just like she's like she knows more than I do and it's scary.
Yeah,
like,
she argued with him about like when they said the main dimension in Multiverse of Madness is Earth 616. She was like, no, it's Earth 99999. Like that's the official designation, Kevin. And he's like, no, it's 616. And she's like, no, I disagree.
And then didn't he say that he went like.
Yeah,
or like something like that. And I'm like,
yeah, he did that exact thing. Yeah, but I digress. Like, I really hope they are going to keep Cassian's separatist backstory because, like, that is the thing. Because I never quite got the appeal of Cassian in Rogue One, and it wasn't until I learned that everything about Cassian suddenly clicked in my head, and I was like, oh. That's fascinating that he came from the opposite side of the war.
Yeah, it would be nice if
now,
Marva and Clem, like, even if they're not like full on separatists, if they kind of lean towards, this or being anti-Republic at least.
Yeah,
because maybe they see what it would eventually become before everyone else does, and they see through Sheevy Boy and all that stuff. But we'll probably find out more because I don't think they would introduce. At least Cassian's adopted father, and just only have him show up in one scene. Like I feel like they're going to have more flashbacks.
Do you guys think we're going to get a Palpatine cameo when they get to the Imperial Senate?
Nah, well, maybe a voiceover.
Yeah, maybe a voice, maybe a hologram like Kenobi. I don't think we're going to actually see like Ian McDiarmid in the Senate chamber.
What about so like they could either have a voiceover. I mean, it's likely, but like, what about Jimmy Smits?
Oh, 100%.
I get the sense he'll be there.
I think Bail Organa, I think, is going to show up, if not in season 1, definitely in season 2.
Just to give that connective tissue between him and Mon Mothma for people who aren't necessarily aware, because they obviously share scenes in Rogue One, but like actually see them both in the Senate. That would be kind of cool.
I'd love a Masa Amida cameo, but remember, no Easter eggs.
No Easter eggs.
There are none.
Yeah.
None.
So
No Easter eggs.
the separatist.
I'll never forgive
Masa
Amida for like burning those lightsabers. Like I hate him eternally for that.
I don't. Does anyone? Is there anyone that just is hardcore? Like, you know who my favorite Star Wars character is? Masa Amida. Like,
I mean, probably the same amount of people.
There's
who
a
like
Pong Krell Stan's Twitter account, so like, let's be honest.
It's Alex Damon.
There's probably a
that was our theory in the one episode.
Yeah,
this is true. This is the big For the Republic theory. Alex Damon is Pong Krell Stan.
What if it's Eli, Connor? That would be something.
What?
I don't know. I'm just throwing out random names here.
No, no.
It's Jake. It's Jake.
The last thing I will say though about
that's why he's not here. He's running the Twitter account.
Yeah, he's just too busy like typing out Pong Krell's.
Pong Krell is great.
I mean, let's be clear.
If
Jake had a Stan account, it would probably be for Ray's parents.
He loves them. That's what he said.
Yeah,
he said his uncontroversial opinion is he loves.
He's like I love Ray's parents. I'm not a big fan of Watch Your Bestoon though.
He said Rise of Skywalker. Love that movie. That's
love Rise of Skywalker is my favorite movie. Love it. Least favorite movie, Revenge of the Sith.
Don't like it. He's not a fan.
Yeah, like I'm not a big fan of that Hayden Christensen.
What he said. He said hates Anakin.
The last thing I'll say about the flashbacks is, and again, this is building off another tweet I saw. Is like, I think it's interesting that like Marva makes a very complicated decision at that point, because I was like, she just takes Cassian, and it's like she has good intentions, but like she just takes him away from everyone else he knew, and like his whole driving thing to like his whole goal that's never really implicitly said is he just wants to find his sister. And the only reason he can't find his sister, that he's looking for a sister in the first place, is because Marva took him away from that planet. And like that's the interesting thing, and that's what's interesting about the writing, is that there's this unspoken resentment from Cassian towards Marva, because you almost get the sense that he does kind of resent her for taking him away from his loved ones. And that's what's really interesting about the ending, and the way the ending cuts between the flashback and the present, of like him looking at Luthen with a bit of resentment because Luthen takes him away from his
family,
from Ferrix, just like Marva did.
Just like Marva did.
Yeah.
Also, I just love the way that they segued into Marva's flashback scene of like having B2 in the present day, and then just another shot of him just cleaner. And I was like, it took me a second to realize it was a flashback.
Yeah.
But I really like the way that
I realized because of the hair.
Transition to the flashbacks.
Yeah.
I was like, it's the hair.
B2 has been through some shit. That poor little droid.
He was all shiny back then and everything.
He was like
now he just
prequel era shiny.
Now
but also, okay, we need to talk about, like we've talked about it before, the whole banging the pots and pans or whatever. The material. Just like, I think Mo on Twitter. I can't remember her. Jin My Stardust. That's her @ on Twitter. Wonderful follow. Wonderful person. She's awesome. Great. She just tweeted about how like everyone just banging whatever materials there were. She's like, this is one of the greatest shows of community in Star Wars. And it's like, yeah, it's really damn good.
Yeah,
I would love at some point when we are doing these recaps to have someone on who grew up in a mainly Latin community.
Michael Star Wars.
Yeah. Just to see, I mean, he invited himself on, so just to see like their thoughts on this. But I know there's a bunch of people that I follow, at least, that have been talking about this. And just remember, and going back to that tweet that Diego Luna shared when Rogue One was coming out about the importance of representation of that. When Rogue One came out, that story of the man who brought his dad, who has a very heavy Mexican accent, to see Rogue One, and how much he was impacted by Cassian's character, because there's a hero in a movie with a very heavy accent, and he felt seen, and he like how important that is, and like Diego Luna like literally like teared up reading that story. And again, remember, for anyone that says representation isn't important, you're wrong, because it might not be important to you, but it's important to so many other people that don't get to see themselves in all these other characters. They don't see Anakin and go, that's me. I feel like I could be that character. They see someone like Cassian.
I'm scared if you did.
There you go.
Exactly.
Yeah, a little bit,
Like literally.
Like imagine if you said, I really see myself in Cyril Karn. I'd be like,
I really see myself in Fong Crow. Like,
yeah.
Like if someone said they saw themselves in Dexter Jettster, I would understand
you have 4 arms.
Yeah, like, but yeah, like anyone who says representation doesn't matter, like they clearly are someone who is already represented plenty. I can say for like I'm plenty represented as like as a white dude, but like in terms of like neurodiversity, like that's something that still needs to happen with Star Wars, and something that I'll probably be affected by as someone on the autism spectrum, who's like, that will be like affecting for me when they actually have someone on the show that actually is autistic or has another form of neurodivergence. I will appreciate that very immensely, and there's already like plenty of characters
like
exactly
like...
and like you listen to other people like for instance Candace Core on the Geeky Waffle saying about how emotional she was seeing Tala on the Obi-Wan show, or like David Chen on like a recent podcast he did with Patrick Willems talking about Rogue One, and saying that it was really nice for him to see Donnie Yen as I've got blanking on his name again, and
Chirrut.
I love that character.
Chirrut.
To see Donnie Yen as Chirrut, like see such a badass character who looks like him. It's just words almost can't describe that feeling, and that's why it's important never to decry representation.
Yeah, I'm honestly shocked.
I'll get off my soapbox.
Yeah, no, I mean, not to bring up these tweets again, but we've talked about the discourse surrounding the show. I'm honestly shocked there hasn't been enough of the woke conversations surrounding a lot of this.
Yeah.
It has. Yeah. It's been just.
I just have
racism.
Yeah, it's just been
fully drowned out. Thank goodness.
Yeah,
it's the kind of that's what's really refreshing, that the woke stuff, the woke nonsense bullshit is just finally getting washed away. Just in terms of how big this show is?
Was it someone that the channel starts with the letter G and ends with eeks and gamers? Didn't they say that Diego Luna is being in this is just identity politics? And I'm like, he was literally the character.
He's literally the star of the damn. She's the star of the damn show. It's
idiot. It's identity politic casting. I'm like, are you sure about that?
It's don't get me started on.
He played this role before.
I have so many choice words about geeks and gamers, but
at this point, we're not going to talk about this anymore.
The internet and the internet and Twitter have one thing in common. People just say whatever. And it's just maybe, just maybe, you don't have to tweet out everything.
Yeah, the whole thing of don't drink and drive. It's the whole thing of don't think before you tweet.
It's you don't have to immediately press that tweet button.
Yeah, it's getting to the point where Twitter need to think about putting up a graphic. Just
you're saying
think
something
before you tweet.
You're saying something in the video. It's you go, look, watch the footage back. Be like, maybe I should edit that part out.
Maybe I should not look like an idiot. Maybe I shouldn't praise the head of Warner Discovery for canceling the Batgirl movie because it makes me look like a bit of a bootlicker. And it makes me look like a hypocrite.
Funny you mention that.
I love canceling stuff for tax write-offs.
Yeah. Because I might get more Snyderverse stuff. Raw.
No, you're not. You're never getting more. I'm sorry.
Sorry
to be that guy.
You're literally valorizing the Honey Boo Boo guy. Shut the hell up. Christ.
Give me the Star Wars version of Honey Boo Boo. That's what we really need.
That's Ponkrell.
Yeah. Ponkrell is the Honey Boo Boo of Star Wars.
I don't know. I don't know
give
anything
me
about
Star Wars series
Best
about
out of context
Coruscant pageant moms. Just give me that. Trash reality TV, but Star Wars.
You just know that the Empire peddles that kind of shit in the core worlds. You just know it.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
The Holonet show is just here's a Empire Day pageant.
Imagine if next episode Mon Mothma walks by a room and there's a bunch of people watching a reality, the equivalent of a hollow reality show, and she's just
and Miss Coruscant 5 BBY is Sheev Palpatine. All right, so
thank you very much for this honor.
It's him in Lego Summer Vacation.
Power.
It's roulette. And then when they have the conversation on the beach, the contest on the beach where they just body everyone. That's real. It's not.
It's canon.
It's very canon.
I just love the goofiness of that all the Lego specials. They're so goofy and I love them.
I'm so mad that we never got around to fully talking about Summer Vacation on here because that just came out when all of us just went to shit at the same time. But
yeah. We could cover those in a future episode.
We could,
I would talk about all three of the Lego specials. That would fit a whole episode, I think.
But I hated, or not hated, but they did a really good job in this last episode of making you feel as uncomfortable as humanly possible when the police are interrogating the citizens. And you can just tell it's these police, even though they're the Empire doesn't see them as anything. They are nothing to them. But they see them compared to these normal people as just so superior. And they look down on them and everything. And there's the talks with Marva. I love and like find it tragic that like Cassian gets blown in because of the comlink with B2. And it's just like, oh no, like no,
it's that
like
it's that classic. It is like for all the like subversion, that's like a classic thing where like you, the audience, are aware of something the other character is, and it's great for increasing the tension. It's kind of like that Die Hard mentality of like, oh look, show the audience something that the other characters aren't privy to, because it builds the whole sequence of events.
And that's the thing, is like
tense.
Everyone's like, how can you have a show like this if there's no stakes? Because we know Andor survives. It's like, all right, well, you can say that about Obi-Wan. You can say that about so many other shows. It's like, here's the thing. It's like, we know Cassian survives. Yeah. We don't know about anyone else, essentially, except for Mon Mothma. So everyone else is fair game here, which leads me to the question I was going to ask before we started this show, and you told me to save it here. Do you think Luthen makes it out of this season alive, or do you think he dies?
I don't think he'll make it out of the series alive.
No, I don't think he will. I actually think he will die before the end of this season. I personally, because I think this is about.
I just thought of something, and I just thought of a theory on the spot. Is like it would make sense if like Deidre Miro or Cyril was the reason he died, or like a heroic sacrifice. We've seen them have conversations in the trailers. What if it's Saw Gerrera? Maybe not directly, but like indirectly gets Luthen killed. And that's what causes the rift between Saw and the Rebellion, or starts to cause it.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Because this is the thing, because like I mentioned David Chen and Patrick Willems like talking about Rogue One, and like they go into like how it's rather awkward Saw's role in Rogue One, because you can tell that his role was reworked there, because like he doesn't have a huge role in it. He has like he has a few sequences, and then he's very suddenly dies, because it's very I will run no longer. You can if you look back at the scene, you can tell that line was even ADR'd in. So like Saw does have something of an abrupt exit from the movie, which is especially noteworthy given that this character is now like has such a presence across most Star Wars media. Like he's appeared in almost every era of the Disney era so far. Like he's been in everything. Like he even predated the Disney merger.
Yeah,
but like
he was Clone Wars first, and then Rogue One, and everything.
And the whole way Rogue One recontextualized him is essentially like very close to the line of a terrorist. Like when you compare like the rebels as like freedom fighters, and he's more of a terror. Him and his party.
Yeah, that's a big debate on like Saw Gerrera, like if he's even a good guy or not, because he's so extreme to where like even if I'm not even saying like Saw like shoots him dead, I'm just saying like a partisan mission or something.
Saw does something
he
that
set up
gets him killed. Gets him killed.
Luthen getting killed.
Yeah, because like
I wasn't even thinking that before 5 minutes ago, but it just literally like
I wasn't even thinking that at all. And I'm fascinated to see that happen, because it's like Tony Gilroy said, he wanted every role, every appearance from a character to be like protein to benefit the story, and like obviously Saw being here is like a big boost for fans, because we obviously all know him from other Star Wars stuff, but like a way to make his role more interesting in the story is to show the shades of gray within the rebellion, the different types of rebels, and to really show why the rest of the rebellion is at odds with him.
Yeah,
because
we're going to be
come close to the line at that with stuff like Rebels, and even like the fact that he deserts Kashyyyk in Fallen Order, but we've never really got to a bit where we're like, damn, you've gone too far there, Saw.
Rebel Rising.
Yeah,
I haven't read that, but like I'm fascinated.
There is
I need to read it.
I don't want to say very, but like there's a pretty graphic scene that happens. There's like sequence that happens.
Oh shit!
Where like Saw basically kills civilians, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
and it's like
that tracks given like what happens on Jeddah and the way his partisans behave. Like that's fascinating. But yeah, I think Luthen will die. I feel like Marvo could die. Personally, I'm really hoping Brasso is fine, and I'm especially
Brasso better not die, or I will boycott the show.
And as for Bix,
I'm not a little bitch like most of this fandom, but like Brasso better not die. That guy's a homie.
To be honest,
I hope he shows up again. That's
Yeah,
my
but like,
great.
Yeah,
I would be happy if his role was just the first 3 episodes because then at least he will be all right. As for Bix,
I want him to like show up. Like I want them to like retcon like he was at the Battle of Exegol. He was one of the people in the ships.
Yeah.
Like I just keep him going, man.
Yeah, it would make it more interesting, like to like say he was in one of those damn ships. But like, don't kill Brasso. Please don't kill Bix. Please let Bix still be alive. I feel like it's. I feel like it's an
crazy. I mean, we'll all go crazy collectively.
We'll all like literally.
I think
if she dies, it'll just be us all crying.
This is
like
we'll
just be like,
I think
welcome to For the Republic.
I think she'll make it through the first season. I hope she makes it through the second season, but like,
yeah,
we know that like Jin is his partner in Rogue One, so we at least know that they won't end on the best of terms because the show is supposed to literally end like right before Rogue One.
Like Tony Gilroy literally gave us like
he gave it away. He's like, yeah, it's right, like literally like 5
minutes. He's gonna be walking into the tarmac to go meet Tivik, and it's like, bro, Tony Gilroy just literally spoiled the end, but it's like, how the fuck do we get there?
Yeah,
but I like how it's literally like, so the show's gonna do this and this and this, but we're all like still like incredibly shocked of like where everything's going. But yeah, Bix obviously, like, I hope she doesn't die. You know who did die is Timm, and
yeah,
and you know, they made his day. It was impactful. It was impactful. Did I still scream, yes, go fuck yourself as loud as I possibly could have at 4 a.m.? You're goddamn right I did. I was cheering. That says a lot about me, but I don't care. I hated this bastard.
I was like,
damn. I didn't think it was going to happen like the way it did. I'm like, they're not going to kill him right here.
It's
and
the
then
fact
they
that
did. And I was like, oh my God.
Because he makes like there's a split second like where he clearly makes the decision to like rush at them, like he almost kind of knows that he could die, but he's like, screw it, I'm just I'm not letting them do this to Bix. It's kind of like a funny kind of resolution because he began doing something very cowardly, and then here we see him do something very selfless where he just he charges in to try and help her, and sadly pays with his life,
gets killed by cops.
And it's exactly. Yeah.
Again, not subtle.
Not subtle
at all. And it leads to like
their scene where Timm kind of gets like Bix puts 2 and 2 together about
and he just
it's like
very
how do they know it's
weakly
Cassian?
Tries to stop her, like he very weakly tries to like get in the way and like just
it's like
the
very
way
clearly like all right, that's it, like
the quiet fury that Adria Arjona like conveys when like Bix realizes that that Timm has ratted Cassian out. She just stares right through him. It's like you can feel her anger, and you're like
wonderful actress.
She's great.
She's fantastic.
And then just him dying, something about like characters, like someone dying and then the other person can't do anything about it because they're restrained or cuffed, like her and this and her. That always like gets me. I'm like, it's just such a good way of conveying emotion or like having something be heartbreaking. But like these cops just again, not subtle here, just completely like brutalize her. She's bleeding from the head, and Timm obviously is like, yo, what the hell are you doing? And they tell him to stop, and he just starts bolting, and they fucking shoot him. And I'm like,
and there's no need. There was no need to do it because he's like an unarmed dude. They're heavily armored guys with like heavy blasters. One of them would just have to like whack him with the gun.
That's another thing. They very like when they're having like the speakers, I guess, of like them talking about Cassian. I think it might still be on the ship. Actually, it's like, all right, so this Cassian guy, heavily armed. Like we need a dozen men to take out this one guy. It's just like they're not being subtle here. Like
definitely not subtle.
Overkill to try to establish authority and like bleed in real world stuff.
I almost wonder if Tony Gilroy is like aware of the like shitty backlash from idiots supposed like fake Star Wars fans, because I'm not going to grant them the whole thing of saying fans. 100%. And he basically just went, you know what, fuck you, I am writing the most political Star Wars series because that's what Star Wars is. Star Wars is about politics because it's about war, and war is fueled by politics. If you disagree, go fuck yourself.
That's another thing is like they advertise this show as like a political thriller. So if anyone even is like, why is it so political?
Yeah.
What do you think? Political thriller.
Yeah.
But you're
putting
Fiona Shaw
literally
Star Wars.
Yeah, and that's probably why the conversation has been so muted on the like front of like of woke politics, because like, you know, yeah, you've still got idiots like Geeks and Gamers saying like, oh yeah, you know, all that nonsense, but it's more muted because this show has very aggressively stated, like the people making it have made very clear, this is a political show. And it's aimed at a very certain stripe of people. It's basically, it's not bandying. It's not like pretending like it's not about contemporary politics, and it's not pretending to be on the right of anything. It's very firmly like in the progressive side, because how could it not be? It's a show about
if you're
fucking rebellion starting up.
If you're breaking down like the formation and the inner workings of the rebellion, you kind of have to. Like, you can't just avoid stuff like this.
No.
If you're going to tell the story of how this, like, radical group that has many different forms, like, forms together to take out the fascist imperialist state. But remember, like, they're, like, that's... People are like, they're not fascists. I'm like, yes, they are! It's
like, you know what? Say what you will about J.J. Abrams, but he wasn't subtle about that either. He literally made the stormtroopers do a freaking Nazi salute. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I know.
People are stupid.
Again, subtlety, not really something you come here
like
for Star Wars with.
I have one functioning eye, and I can pick up on this stuff better than these people.
Yeah.
Like, that's bad.
It's your superpower.
You're an incredibly perceptive dude, Connor.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm not stupid.
Exactly.
You know what we've talked about Timm's death, and we've talked about the cops. What I really want to talk about now,
rising up against them, man.
Yeah. I love
fucking
it.
Insane.
It's great.
Like the cop who shot Timm, like I know we all hate Timm, but like I was still like, damn, at his death. I was like,
it was brutal. Like, and again,
I kind of feel bad for him.
And I will, like, with this and with the girl that was killed in the flashbacks, the deaths just come with no warning, just like no room to breathe, just so sudden, so real, which I really appreciated.
Yeah.
And the community rising up, I loved it, and we've talked about it so much, and it's been such a great part of this episode. Now, one thing that this show has done with the slow build is that we went 2 episodes without really any action, all build up, all talking. So when we finally got this action scene in the warehouse, it ruled so hard.
It was such a
just
cool,
all the stuff falling from the ceiling and everything.
Yeah.
It was such a cool way of doing a fight scene. And then them almost really getting out of it, and Cassian be like, no, I gotta grab the box. And Luthen's like, forget the box.
What's in the box?
He gets him in more shit. He ends up getting dinged in the shoulder, and then
just
every time they think they're out of it, more like cops keep coming out of the way, just shooting at them. It was such a cool scene. And then Luthen kind of giving him like a little lesson during it too.
Yeah,
it was really fun.
That
and then like
the
one
we'll get to the fake out, but like
Timm, just like the fact that he was just like, I can't remember what Brasso did. Again, this reinforces Brasso's a homie. I love that guy. He like put I think he attached some sort of debris to the guy's ship, so when he took off,
I think that was
so. Was that the moment where like the Scottish guy was like,
"Shit"? Yeah, that was a shit.
I've got that guy's name.
We're under siege.
So they're behind us, and then you just see Cyril's.
So that guy's name is Linus Mosk. That's
what a name, Linus.
It's like, did George Lucas name that guy? That feels like a George Lucas name. Linus.
I love that.
So like Tony, there's like a guy one I like named is like name's Linus Mosk. Like that, I feel like that's a good name. Yeah, it's like, but like that whole sequence is so good. Like the whole like Brasso obviously is like a homie for like attaching the chain, like taking that guy down, and it's a nice bit of retribution. But the moment when like Cassian gets the drop on Cyril, and the look on Cyril's face where he realizes he's so in over his head, and despite all his
way
bravado,
they framed it,
yeah,
and then you
he's
just see
scared.
the gun behind him. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, and it's like the
so
power
good.
dynamic just flips right there, and you can see the fear in Cyril's eyes because he just realizes, oh shit, I am way in over my head here. This guy is literally like this guy could kill me, and Luthen even like says, kill him, and it's like Jesus.
I knew like he was gonna be in more episodes because we see more of him in the trailers, and we know that I believe his mother is gonna also be a recurring character in the series, and she's gonna kind of be like an influence on him. But I was like, was that all just fake shit? And like, are they just gonna kill him right here? But no, they tie him up, and then there's the fake out with the speeder.
So good.
Which was so good. And then the explosions and everything. Oh, it was great.
They got me. I thought they were in the speeder when it first came out. I thought, oh, they're just gonna ram through people, and then it flipped over, and I was like, oh, I guess they're not in there. Are they faking? And I thought, oh, is Cassian faking his death so he can get away? And then they just come out in the speeder bike, and Luthen just blows it up. I was like, that is awesome. That's like such a great little misdirect to like mask and escape, and it feels desperate. In a way, it feels kind of like it's got that kind of chase and escape vibe that Star Wars is really good at. And then you have that beautiful shot of the speeder going through those marshy fields as like the music, as like Nicholas Brittle's score like swells. It's really cool. Because like I know, like that's the thing. If I could compare each of the Disney Plus shows, because I've heard some people compare like Mandalorian to like Xeno Warrior Princess, very kind of like 90s syndicated shows, and like Obi-Wan is basically like episode 3.5. It's like a movie in TV form, and then Andor, is like exactly. And then Andor has very much like a peak TV vibe where it has like almost has like a Game of Thrones spirit in it. Like it's got that kind of complexity and like moral grayness that shows like that really enjoy exploring.
Yeah, definitely. Like Mando, like you said, it feels very serialized, very episode of the week type of stuff. Kenobi, like you said, feels like a continuation, and this feels like its own massive broad thing, which I love. And
to be clear, like each of those styles are great. Like they all work for like very very specific reasons, and that doesn't making those comparisons doesn't mean like one is any better than the other. Like I'm not saying Andor is necessarily inherently better than like Obi-Wan or Book of Boba Fett because it's like it's modeling itself on peak TV. It's distinctive because of that identity. And it's like, you know what? Because there was a little discussion about like this is better than like all of Obi-Wan or like all of Mandalorian combined. And I
won't go that far yet.
I won't go that far yet, but like I get why people are saying it, and it's like there's a very fine line between like
can't stand it
shitting on the other shows.
Oh, you don't
using
Andor to
shit on the other shows, but like
bring another show down to
lift another one up.
Because like
I love Kenobi so much, and I'm also really loving Andor. Like I don't have to be like, well, this does it better than. I'm like, no, I like both shows. They're both Star Wars. But they're both Star Wars in a completely different way. And I appreciate and love both of them. The one thing I will say, though, is Obi-Wan, if it got Andor's budget, and if it was shot like Andor, it would have been way better than it already was.
I mean, fuck you, COVID.
God damn it!
Give Deborah Chow and Ewan McGregor the budget to make a season 2.
If we get a season 2...
I don't even care about the budget. Just shoot it at Pinewood.
If we get a season 2, please shoot it at Pinewood.
Please. Please, Lucasfilm. We're imploring you to make a Kenobi season 2 and shoot it at Pinewood.
Actually, you know what? Also, you know what? Even better, just take Pinewood, clone it, and move it
somewhere else.
Hire like Kaminoans to make like a clone of it and just like gestate it over in America. If like
Kamino's destroyed, so we can't do that. Thanks, Matt.
Damn it.
Damn it.
Oh, the feels are back again.
But can we just talk about the fake out with the speeder for a second? Like, It
So
crashes. They think they got him. It's like, yes.
Dude, their grins.
Zoom.
They were so overjoyed.
Yeah, Cyril was like, "I don't suck, yay!"
Yeah. I just love just how you could tell something was off because like this speeder's going, it's not going that fast. I was like, are we having another Book of Boba Fett like thing again? People are gonna be talking about it. It crashes, and then we just see like I'm sure probably maybe the fastest speeder we've ever seen in live action, just zooming with Luthen and Cassian. They could have basically just done this to Cyril like this, and it would have had the same effect. And then you just
done like a Top Gun.
You see his face of like, I'm screwed. Like
I am
because now the Empire is probably going to be up his ass about this.
Yeah, and his boss is gonna be like, I told you very specifically.
I told you specifically
not
to
to
come up with an
this.
accent report and to not do this. And what have you done?
It's like people are dead. Like people literally are dead. And there's like that noise in the background of like someone screaming in pain, and it's like, whew, that's again very dark. And it's like he's there like completely like the Linus Mosk is literally screaming in his face to like get him to focus because he's so overcome with the like shock of like, you know,
failure.
Clearly he's failure. Because he's clearly very green. He's never like gotten involved in this kind of shit or dealt with people as determined as Cassian or Luthen. And it's like it's going to be interesting because he's going to kind of like go one of two ways. Like he's either going to continue to be in over his head, or he's going to get a lot more dangerous because he's going to realize he has to adapt to combat this type of rebellion, and that potentially will make him quite a scary threat. Because like just like Cassian has to adapt, he might have to as well.
Yeah, no. Just the way it ends of Cassian leaving this new phase in his life now, walking into the greater world of the rebellion. So next episode, we're probably going to get a lot of Mon Mothma, a lot of Coruscant. I don't think we're going to get Saw Gerrera yet. I think they're going to hold off a bit for him.
I think latter half of the season, like probably episode 8 or something, I think is where Saw Gerrera might show up. That makes the most sense to me.
Why don't we call it war? But hopefully Bix shows up again soon because I got a brand I'm building.
Double crossing
folks.
For that.
I got a brand I'm building here, folks. I need to continue to embrace it. But yeah,
I feel that
we've gone 2 hours. Any more like thoughts on these episodes as a whole before we start to wrap things up and get going? Because we've been going a while.
Yeah, like just overall, I really dug it. It's like, you know, probably the most impactful opening for a Star Wars show that we've had. Like it's next level. It's really unique, and it's doing
Kenobi
stuff
felt very special to me. So that's all, I'm gonna always have a bias towards that.
Same. I almost want to wall Obi-Wan off from comparing it to other shows because I know I'm biased against it because Obi-Wan's my favorite, and I know it's the same for you, Andrew.
And I waited years for that show, but like it definitely did feel like it felt different. You know, the fact that they actually had like a premiere for this, which they haven't for any of the other shows. It feels like we're entering a new, like Kenobi started it, and like Andor is fully continuing like a new era of Star Wars television and content.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm hoping they continue the premieres and everything for future shows. A reminder, Lucasfilm, we host a Star Wars animation podcast. So if you want to invite us to that Bad Batch Season 2 premiere, my email is open. So there's that. But yeah, no, I thought the episodes were great. Really, really digging the show. Certain things just really popped for me. The visuals, the production design, the music, the acting. It just all felt, like you said, grander and like bigger, which I really appreciated. And just, again, this is no shade at the volume, but you can just tell how much more of a difference shooting it on location in that Pine Woods has compared to Mando and Kenobi and all that, because it feels more like the films, whereas Mando and Kenobi, I love them, but they feel like television. This feels
that is true.
like if Kenobi, they released this in theaters, you'd be completely fine.
Like, I give Deborah Chow a lot of props for making Kenobi feel as cinematic as possible, but I also agree that, like,
budget.
Yeah, exactly. Which is like mind blowing when you think about it. But like, Andor
Jake and I had
really does feel cinematic.
Jake and I had like a mini convo of like the pros and cons of like having lower budget Star Wars stuff. I'm like, if it means that we could get more like smaller scale stories at a lower budget, I would maybe be for it. But also, like, if they're gonna look like crap and if they're gonna be crap like storytelling wise, then no, I would want like an increase in budget. That's where I feel the like shorter budget should be put towards, if you're even gonna do it at all. To put something as huge as Obi-Wan Kenobi on essentially like an independent film budget, like, or like a very high-end indie budget at some points. Come on now. Like, you're the Walt Disney Corporation. You can afford to shell out another $50 million or so for maybe what could have been what was probably your most anticipated Star Wars project since the Disney acquisition. Like, come on now. Like, but again, this show is fantastic. I cannot wait for this, and we're gonna have a lot of fun talking about Andor. I'm gonna try to get some guests on for some episodes more frequently. We'll have some familiar faces, maybe some new ones. I tried getting in contact with someone about next week's episode. I'm still waiting to hear back yet, so I'm not going to give any official thing yet, but we'll be doing these as well as our normal regular Clone Wars episodes. We have another one coming fairly soon, probably within the next week or so as well. But yeah, I think, unless you have something to say, Conor, I think we're going to get going. All right. So he's nodded in approval. So yeah, that was it for our first episode of our Andor discussions. 3 episodes. They all aren't going to be 2 hours long because 3 episodes is a lot. I'm shocked it lasted. I'm shocked it was this short, if I'm being honest. I thought we were, if Jake was here, we'd still be going for another 2 hours. But but yeah, let's head out of here. Where can the good people find you?
Twitter, Depa Banana. I also co-host another Star Wars podcast called Knights of the Nerd Republic. Obviously, we're talking Andor. We're trying to have guests on, mainly Latino Star Wars fans, because we want to. The idea there is to both get their perspective and uplift their voices.
Great idea.
That's really cool.
I want to do the same thing.
Where else?
Well, you have. I just saw a tweet. You got something coming out tomorrow, buddy.
Oh yeah, Epic Confrontations. Yeah, it'll be coming out like this recording. We recorded this Saturday, September 24th. My final Epic Confrontations match before I become a questions writer. I've become a questions writer already. I've already written a ton of questions at this point.
Full-time questions writer.
Comes out tomorrow. I face off against Andrew Geha of Outer Rim Reads Pod. That is a Star Wars book podcast. It's really cool. And so will he spoil my goodbye, or will I prevail? Tune in to find out.
Rooting for you, dude.
And then I'll tell you guys what happened off air. And then actually, no, I won't.
Gotta keep the suspense going. What do you mean off air?
Yeah,
Connor's doing like a Steve Rogers.
Yeah, right. The other place you can find me soon. Well, not soon. I have articles, but like sweditorig.com/fiction. No stories published yet. I do have one coming. It is called The Hidden Kyber. It is set shortly after the events of Fallen Order, and it stars Seer Junda and Cal Kestis.
All right, Don, how about you?
All right, so you can find me on Twitter at Donovan Mead, where I tweet about Star Wars and sometimes get political, talk Marvel stuff. You can also find me, as Connor said, on sweditorig.com as part of where I write articles. I recently wrote some a speculative article about where Obi-Wan season 2 could go if they decide to go ahead with that. And I also write stories. I wrote Scars of War, which came out a few months ago, and I'm
Read Scars of War. It's really fucking good.
Thanks, man. And I've also, just like Conor, I've got like some other projects in the pipeline there. So, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You can find me after this recording trying to hastily rebuild this Obi-Wan ship that we talked about at the beginning of the episode. You can also find me on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and TikTok at Starlight Andrew. You can follow the new For the Republic YouTube channel, which you're seeing us in glorious video form, For the Republic Podcast. Also on Twitter at For the Repub Pod, and on Instagram at For the Republic Pod. We are 6 followers away from 100 at the time of recording, so get us to 100 so we can start doing some cool stuff. Also, get us on the road to 100 YouTube subscribers so we can start doing live content and stuff like that. As for me, other creative projects I got going on, I have a fairly big announcement coming very soon. These two know about it already. Other people know about it, but not fully official yet. So when it is, stay tuned for that. We'll have a new episode.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait.
We got a new episode coming soon. And I forgot the other thing I was going to say. Oh, happy birthday, Chloe. We're recording this a day before your birthday. I thought it was today. Yes. I got the date wrong. So you're getting 2 birthday messages from me. Yeah, so I'll catch you guys next week because I totally forgot the other thing I was going to plug. And as always, may the Force be with you. Always.